Chapter 733. Senior brother, that's a heaven-swallowing rat? The junior sister's eyes widened as she looked at the little furballs back in fear. I've seen it before. After all, it's something that only exists in legends. It's said that in front of the heaven-swallowing rat, there are no living things. That strong man should be the Azure Dragon sect leader. He's actually scared out of his wits. Even if it's not a heaven-swallowing rat, it's definitely not an ordinary battle pet. Is that the red-cloved man's battle pet? That's not right. That man doesn't seem to be in a soul-body fusion state. Why is his battle pet still so strong? Actually, Lu Chen did not expect the little furball to be so strong. If those 4-star and 5-star cultivators were placed in the 4th heaven, they would definitely be super strong. Even if their bodies were injured to a large extent, under everyone's cooperation, the little furball was actually able to win so easily. This point was still out of Lu Chen's expectations. Could it be that the little furball only truly uses its power after the 5th heaven? Lu Chen was unable to find out the little furball's attributes from his panel. He only knew that this fellow would eat and sleep every day, sleep and play and eat. It seemed that after the 5th heaven, the little furball's strength would increase very quickly. Lu Chen had to re-evaluate this point. In the battle with Wu Ho, Lu Chen did not need to make a move. Dragon Sect Wu Ho still dared to berate Lu Chen loudly. But in front of the little furball, this fellow's fighting spirit was almost gone. Heaven-swallowing rat. How can you have a heaven-swallowing rat? That's a magical beast that only exists in legends. Wu Ho's hands were trembling as he retreated step by step. Lu Chen was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. He stood up and walked to the little furball's side. Little furball, the last one. Do you remember what I said before? Roar. The gigantic little furball's voice had become much more imposing. With a roar, the little furball's figure flashed and was already in front of Wu Ho. Damn it, solipsistic, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Spirit pill self-explosion. At this moment, Wu Ho's battle soul state suddenly disappeared, and a muffled sound rang out in the air. Lu Chen was very familiar with this sound. It was the sound of a battle soul being annihilated. This fellow had not even fought and his battle soul was annihilated? Lu Chen was shocked. Until Lu Chen once again looked at Wu Ho, his eyes suddenly widened. At Wu Ho's lower abdomen, a violent surge of spiritual energy suddenly occurred. The degree of intensity was something Lu Chen had never seen before. Even star annihilation couldn't compare to it. What's going on? Not good, it's self-destruction. Furball. Retreat quickly. Lu Chen was certain that the power of this explosion was extremely shocking. The little furball didn't know how to control spiritual energy. If the explosion of the spirit pill was stronger than the star annihilation, the little furball wouldn't be able to block it. It was possible that the other party's self-destruction would directly take their lives. However, little hairy ball's small eyes looked at Wu Ho, whose veins were popping out, and did not listen to Lu Chen's command. In a blink of an eye, it directly bit off half of Wu Ho's body. With this bite, Wu Ho was left with only the upper half of his body. From his chest to his chest, it was completely swallowed by the little furball. The few people who were hiding in the dark felt their scalps go numb. Spirit pill self-destruction. That was a move that did not hesitate to destroy one's body and soul, consigning one's spirit pill to eternal damnation. It could be said that when an immortal cultivator had no other choice and was extremely unwilling to accept the situation, it was a move that either the fish dies or the net splits. Those who dared to use this move were definitely ruthless people. Due to the 5th heavenly layer soul-body fusion state, the physical body was still more vulnerable to injuries. Therefore, this move had an extremely strong deterrent effect on the majority of low-level immortal cultivators. Generally speaking, if one faced a person who knew how to self-destruct a spirit pill, it would be best to kill him quickly. Otherwise, the consequences would not be a joke. Although the dragon sect's Wu Ho's level was low, he was after all the sect leader of the sect. Knowing how to self-destruct a spirit pill was not rare. But that huge rat actually swallowed half of his body in one gulp. What the hell was this? No, it can't be. The spirit pill self-destructed and the heaven-swallowing rat directly swallowed it? Wu Ho did not dare to believe his eyes. Ignoring the intense pain in his body, the heaven-swallowing rat swallowed his spirit pill. However, Wu Ho thought about it and suddenly laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha, you like to eat, right? Your father's spirit pill is about to self-destruct. If you swallow it, you will be blown to smithereens. I never thought that my dragon sex Wu Ho would actually kill the heaven-swallowing rat. Ha 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 ha, although I did not have a good ending, I did not lose out. At this moment, the small furry group suddenly exploded. Lu Chen, the remaining half of the dragon sex Wu Ho and the 5 people of the spirit immortal sect who were hiding in the dark all stared at the small furry ball with wide eyes. The sound was a bit muffled. After all, there was a layer of the stomach. The spirit pill exploded in that fellow's stomach. However, the expected scene of being blown to smithereens did not happen. Only the small furry ball opened its mouth and burped this. Lu Chen was already in a mess. Damn, that must be the heaven-swallowing rat. The heaven-swallowing rat can swallow everything. Even when its strength is still very weak, the toughness of its digestive system has already reached an unimaginable level. Only the heaven-swallowing rat is able to withstand this explosion. The small furry ball rubbed its stomach and walked towards the dragon sex Wu Ho as if nothing had happened. At this moment, the dragon sex Wu Ho was already in despair. He knew that Lu Chen would not let him off so easily. That was why he chose to self-destruct his spirit pill. However, even in his dreams, he did not expect that after the heaven-swallowing rat swallowed his spirit pill, it did not even explode. The current him did not have his spirit pill and did not even have the strength of a 5-star cultivator. He was no different from an ordinary person. Just as the small furry ball was about to take action, Lu Chen called out to it. The only person who could stop the small furry ball from eating was Lu Chen. The small furry ball turned into a small one and climbed up Lu Chen's trousers to Lu Chen's shoulder. The bloodthirsty and gluttonous heaven-swallowing rat turned back into a cute little furry ball. Lu Chen walked in front of Wu Ho. Looking at the remaining half of Wu Ho's body, Lu Chen snorted. Looks like I've won. This sentence made Wu Ho's intestines turn green with regret. Even though he did not underestimate his opponent and went all out, from the Azure Dragon sect, no one dared to take the initiative to attack Lu Chen. They used delaying tactics and activated the Lunar Dragon trapping array from the start. All kinds of preparations could be said that his strategy was not wrong at all. He even succeeded in delaying Lu Chen until the soul-body fusion stage was exhausted. Under normal circumstances, he should have won. However, the truth was that things did not go as he wished. The newcomer in front of him did not even understand the strength of the 5th layer. For some lowly commoners, he rushed into the Azure Dragon sect alone. Was he the one who had the last laugh? Why, I had obviously taken every step carefully. I did not underestimate my opponent and went all out. Why did I still lose? Wu Ho said blankly. Lu Chen looked at Wu Ho indifferently. Do you know why? Wu Ho raised his head and looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled. It's very simple. Because your opponent is me. Chapter 734. Even if Wu Ho was still alive, the final result of the explosion of the spirit pill was extremely miserable. Unfortunately, Lu Chen did not plan to let him die so easily. Although Lu Chen was not good at killing, he still knew how to give someone a taste of their own medicine. How Wu Ho treated the villagers, Lu Chen already knew. He clawed open Wu Ho's chest, his face as pale as snow almost stuck to Wu Ho's face, and said coldly, "Now, I'll let you taste the feelings of those villagers before they die. You deserve it, But they are all innocent. You don't even let the elderly and children go. I want to see how black your heart is. Wu Ho's face twitched, he was sweating profusely, the pain had already made him faint, but Lu Chen continued to inject spirit energy into him, making him 100 times more energetic. Solipsistic, let me die. I beg you. Aren't you the best at making people beg for death? Lu Chen's eyes were cold. As long as I keep you alive, you won't die anytime soon. The few people hiding in the distance were already scared pale by Lu Chen's cruel method. What kind of devil is that guy to be so cruel? Along the way, he killed nearly 1,000 people. The Azure Dragon clan is a big immortal sect in this area, but he actually killed them all by himself. Don't be impulsive, he has the heaven-swallowing rat. We still don't know how strong that thing is, but once it's defeated, the consequences will be unimaginable. Quickly leave this place and report the situation to the sect. Before the eldest senior brother left, he glanced at the red-clothed white-haired man. Solipsistic. Could it be that the fifth layer of heaven has welcomed another great devil? A few minutes later, Lu Chen still took care of Wu Ho's life. He had the heart to kill him, but he did not have the endurance to do so. In the future, I will learn a skill to torture people, especially to take care of these heinous fellows, so that I don't have to do it myself. I still can't do this kind of thing. Lu Chen shook his head. Before coming here, he had clearly planned to torture this fellow until he was half dead. In the end, it was he who couldn't take it anymore. However, Wu Ho was already miserable enough. Although Lu Chen did not understand the self-detonation of spirit pills, but thinking about it, the self-detonation of spirit pills was a skill that crossed levels. The side effects must be huge. It was possible that Lu Chen did not understand it yet. Furthermore, Wu Ho's current state of death was extremely miserable. His lower body was swallowed by the little fur ball, and both of his arms were chopped off by Lu Chen. His chest was pierced by a claw, and he bitterly endured for a few minutes before Lu Chen let him die. When it came to cruelty, Lu Chen should really learn from Furry. Forget it, forget it. I believe that the souls of the dragon-hunting villagers in heaven should be comforted. When he turned back, Lu Chen discovered that the road was littered with corpses. The Azure Dragon School no longer existed. Since the man had been killed, Lu Chen naturally wouldn't let go of the chance to loot the corpse. Apart from the corpse, there were also some small objects scattered all over the ground. 831 corpses. To pick up all the objects was a huge task. Lu Chen could only call out Little Green, Xiao Min, Rhubarb, and Furry to help. The group of people went from the top of the mountain to the bottom, cleaning up the corpses. Boss, why don't they have any cash withdrawal scrolls on them? Little Green knew that what Lu Chen needed the most was the cash withdrawal scrolls. However, there were all kinds of medicinal ingredients, equipment, materials, and even cultivation method. It was just that the cash withdrawal scrolls were rarely seen. Yeah, the few outer sect disciples at the bottom of the mountain had dozens of them. There are almost 1,000 people here, and I've only found 2 10-point scrolls. Xiao Min was also very depressed. Lu Chen's situation was similar to theirs. He thought for a while and said, I understand. Boss, do you know why? Lu Chen nodded. Those outer sect disciples should have just been promoted. I remember that after the sect's cultivators rose in star, they would receive additional rewards from the sect. However, according to Wu Ho's character, he probably wouldn't easily give them rewards. Therefore, they had to do some hard work missions, such as running errands in villages that they disdained. Lu Yi immediately understood. She suddenly realized, that makes sense. They just happened to rise in star, so they have cash withdrawal scrolls that they haven't withdrawn yet. On the other hand, those in the sect don't have any cash withdrawal scrolls. Only a few people, such as exchanging things or having other purposes, would have a few on them. Lu Chen shook his head. Seems like the cash withdrawal scrolls are the most important resource in the 5th layer of heaven, At this moment, Rhubarb, who had been slacking off and refused to search the corpses, returned from God knows where. Upon returning, Rhubarb wagged his tail and swayed in front of Lu Chun, looking like he was asking for credit. And, Rhubarb, what did you find this time? Woof woof woof. Hiss, Xiao Min looked at Rhubarb angrily. Rhubarb, why are you so arrogant? You actually said that we are all laymen in finding treasures, so you don't want to go with us? On this point, Rhubarb indeed had the qualifications to look down on everyone present. It relied on treasure hunting to come out of the whirlpool world. It was estimated that in Jiutian history, its existence was even rarer than Lu Chun, who broke through the void. Alright, let me take a look at your backpack. Lu Chun checked Rhubarb's backpack. Upon opening the backpack, Lu Chun was first stunned, then stunned. Boss, what did Rhubarb find? Cash withdrawal scrolls. Lu Chun said numbly. How many? 20 pieces or 30 pieces? How many? Little Green and Xiao Min were also very curious and asked eagerly. Lu Chun shook his head. There are a total of 5 stacks. 204 pieces with 10 points, 121 pieces with 20 points, 72 pieces with 30 points, 39 pieces with 40 points, and 24 pieces with 50 points. In total, it added up to 9,380 points. Others had only found 20 to 30 points, but Rhubarb alone had found 9,000 points. This gap was not just a matter of 1 or 2 levels. No wonder Rhubarb was so arrogant. Rhubarb, you are too amazing. Where did you find so many attribute withdrawal scrolls? Xiao Min was completely convinced. If she was looked down on before, then so be it. According to his strength, the contempt just now was already light. More than 9,000 points. This is equivalent to a few million spiritual stones. Speaking of spiritual stones, Lu Chun noticed that there were 2 items in Rhubarb's backpack. One was spiritual stones, and the number on it was 780,000. There was also a letter with the words, "Invitation Letter," written on it. Lu Chun hugged Rhubarb and rubbed its neck. Rhubarb, did you find their warehouse? Damn, Rhubarb, you are too strong, you are simply a treasure-hunting god. Little Green and Xiao Min also ran over and ravaged Rhubarb. Little Furball jumped on Rhubarb's head and jumped up and down, also joining in the fun. This time, Lu Chun had really wiped out the Azure Dragon sect and obtained a lot of equipment. Almost all of these equipment were obtained by Lu Chun in the 4th celestial layer. The wilderness of the Savage Lands gathered almost 90% of the monsters in the 4th celestial layer. There was no equipment that could not be obtained. Only Wu Ho's Chiyu battle axe and 10 other weapons were new. Other than that, there were medicinal herbs, pills, formulas, materials for synthesizing, attribute withdrawal scrolls, spiritual stones. The harvest was so plentiful that Lu Chun could only store the spoils of war in his own army warehouse. Chapter 735. All the equipment was given to the limitless sword to devour. 10 or so immortal level rare weapons could also increase his stats by 200,000, increasing his battle spirit's strength by another level. Now Lu Chun only had the extraction scroll in his hands. 9,450 attribute points. Lu Chun frowned. The Azure Dragon School is still a school, but they only have so many attribute scrolls. It seems that the attribute scrolls are really hard to get. This time, Lu Chun was not in a hurry to increase his attribute scrolls. Instead, he opened the invitation letter. The invitation letter mentioned that a month later, a school called Heavenly Lake Sacred Mountain would open the school's spirit source, Heavenly Lake, every year, inviting all the surrounding schools to go together. Bathing in the Heavenly Lake can strengthen one's physique. The specific effects vary according to the heavenly might of each person. Some people have very little effect, while some people can have an earth-shattering change. At that time, the school will choose 3 potential newcomers to bathe in the Heavenly Lake together with the school's disciples. If there is someone who can obtain a great opportunity, They can even tie the knot with the school's outstanding disciples. At that time, Schoolmaster Wu Ho can send the school's disciples to enter the heavenly lake gathering with the Sacred Mountain's disciples. We will be waiting for your arrival. Lu Chen looked at the invitation letter. Inside, there was a small round wooden plate with the words, Heavenly Lake Gathering Third Class Invitation, written on it. Heavenly Lake. Lu Chen thought for a while. He did not know what kind of effects it would have, but Wu Ho put this invitation letter together with his accumulated treasures. It should be extremely important to him. This token did not say that only the Azure Dragon School can go. Then I can take this token and go in. Thinking about this, Lu Chen burned the invitation letter and kept the token. I don't know what the Heavenly Lake will compete in. Then I will temporarily not add my almost 10,000 attribute points. When the time comes, I will add them according to the situation. This kind of small trick, for a gaming expert, was naturally a piece of cake. At this point, the battle of the Azure Dragon School had ended perfectly for Lu Chen. All the Azure Dragon School's disciples were killed, the Azure Dragon School was destroyed, and the storehouse was emptied. Lu Chen called back Rhubarb and the others, changed back to their original appearance, and brought the little fur ball down the mountain. 3 days later, the Spirit Immortal Sect's elite disciples, Situ Mu and the others, who had been out on business, had returned to the sect. They were waiting in the assembly hall for an audience with the elders. Not long after, several old men walked in from outside the door. Sect Master Senior Brother, the Azure Dragon School was exterminated in a single night. Everyone in the school, from the sect master to the martial marquis of the dragon sect to the new disciples of the one-star cultivators, were all cruelly murdered. This matter has already spread throughout the sacred mountain. It is said that those people were all killed by one person. This is really unbelievable. I know. Sect Master Xiao Ho took a deep breath. According to what I know, the Azure Dragon sect often kills innocent civilians, so they can't be considered a righteous sect. However, what kind of person is able to raise a sect that has been established for 20 years to the ground in the limited time of the soul-body fusion? Although the strength of the Azure Dragon School is not strong and their foundation is not stable, the reason why they were able to rise so quickly is because they have the lunar dragon trapping formation. It is extremely profound, and I really cannot think of anyone who can break the lunar dragon trapping formation by themselves. When Situ Mu and the other juniors came back, they said that they have something to report. It seems to be related to the massacre of the Azure Dragon School. When the sect master and the group of elders walked in, Situ Mu and his fellow disciples hurriedly bowed. Sect Master Martial Uncle, Master, Martial Uncles, we personally witnessed a fierce beast slaughtering the Azure Dragon School. When Situ Mu opened his mouth, everyone was shocked. What? You all saw it? Yes, we saw it with our own eyes. Situ Mu reported what he had seen that day to his superiors. After a long time, the sect master's face turned serious. The problems in this matter were each more serious than the last. A 5-star cultivator from a foreign race? He can exterminate the Azure Dragon School that also has a 5-star cultivator. Sect Master Martial Uncle, I am not sure if he is from a foreign race. It could also be some kind of transformation of the battle soul, but he is indeed a 5-star cultivator. It doesn't matter whether he is from a foreign race or not. Within the 5th heaven, one's cultivation level is determined. If he is from a race like the demon race that is naturally strong, it is impossible for him to only be a 5-star cultivator. One of the elders said, the powerhouses of the 4th heavenly layer's 9 camps would almost always be picked up and fought over by the major sections. Since he is a rogue cultivator, it means that he is not doing well in the 4th heavenly layer. Then his battle soul cannot be too strong. In the eyes of these people, the 4th heaven immortal army rank was the standard to measure whether one was doing well or not. However, Lu Chen did not care about this. He was a third heaven commoner, fourth heaven was still. Maybe it is because his battle soul is strong. The sect master said, You said that his battle soul is the heaven-swallowing rat? Replying to sect master, this disciple has not seen the heaven-swallowing rat. However, my junior brother and junior sister saw it with our own eyes. That large rat swallowed the Azure Dragon School's Martial Marquis spirit pill that was about to explode, and it was actually fine. A 5-star cultivator's spirit pill exploded, and it was eaten into its stomach and it was fine? An elder's face was full of shock. If it is the heaven-swallowing rat, then it is not surprising. Rumor has it that the heaven-swallowing rat can swallow mountains and rivers, and when it matures, it can even swallow planets and galaxies. Its internal structure cannot be explained according to our understanding. The sect master said thoughtfully, however, the heaven-swallowing rat will not recognize an owner. How can it follow someone else? Situ Mu asked curiously. Why would the heaven-swallowing rat not recognize an owner? The sect master looked at Situ Mu. This child probably wanted to get a battle soul like that, so he asked this question. Situ Mu's master said, the heaven-swallowing rat is an existence that can destroy the entire Jyotian. In reality, it is not a true battle soul, because Jyotian cannot truly restrict it. How can it become an ordinary battle soul in Jyotian? It has its own intelligence since birth. When it grows to a certain stage, everything is its food. Because of this, once the heaven-swallowing rat grows up from its weak infancy, its growth speed is extremely fast and it is very dangerous. You can think about it from another perspective. If you were a heaven-swallowing rat with intelligence, would you be willing to recognize someone whose growth speed is not as fast as yours as your master? Situ Mu thought about it and shook his head. No, even if I would follow him at the beginning, when the difference in strength is too big, it is hard to say who will be whose master. That's right. Let's not talk about whether you can meet the heaven-swallowing rat. Even if you do, you have to meet a young heaven-swallowing rat in order to have a chance of taming it. After taming it, your growth speed will be faster than it. On the other hand, our cultivation is heaven-defying. I have been in the 5th heaven for 32 years and am only a 3-star cultivator. If you are not someone with great luck, how can you compete with a heaven-swallowing rat that can increase its strength just by eating? Even if we become immortals, there is a limit to our strength. However, the heaven-swallowing rat is different. At least, I don't know if it has a limit. When his master said this, Situ Mu finally understood. It was not that the heaven-swallowing rat did not recognize a master, but that no one was qualified to be its master. The elders looked at each other and said, that large rat might not be a heaven-swallowing rat. That thing only exists in legends. Furthermore, it is impossible for it to recognize a mere 5-star cultivator as its master. Since the sect master had said so, Situ Mu did not dare to be certain. After all, he had never seen a real heaven-swallowing rat. At that time, only the dragon sect marquis said to be a heaven-swallowing rat. As for the owner of that large rat, he only called it Little Furball. Chapter 736. Although the relationship between the Green Dragon sect and the Spirit Immortal sect is not close, it is hard to tell if this solipsistic is good or evil. Inform the others to increase the night patrols. If anyone discovers anything, report it immediately. That solipsistic, or Luchin, might have been attracted to this area by the Heavenly Lake meeting. You have seen him before. Your and Xian Er's potential also meet the requirements. This time, you will go with us to the Heavenly Lake meeting. If you see that person, report it to us immediately. Situ Mu was overjoyed. The Heavenly Lake meeting was held once a year. Every disciple fought to go. According to the ranking, he and Ruo Xian would not be able to go this year. He did not expect that he would have such an opportunity to go to the Heavenly Lake in advance. Master, I heard that this year's Heavenly Lake meeting is different from the past. The granddaughter of the Heavenly Lake sect master, Yen Ling, will also participate. Is it true? Master stared at Situ Mu. Situ Xian quickly shrank his neck and retreated. When he returned to the sect, Situ Mu told his junior sister about this. Ruo Xian was so excited that she jumped up and down. Haha, this is great. The Heavenly Lake meeting. It is a place to compete in appearance. There are handsome men and beautiful women everywhere. Senior brother, we are in for a treat. Yes, it is said to be a competition of potential. However, after so many years, I have never heard of anyone who could use the Heavenly Lake to increase their strength. The Heavenly Lake meeting now has become a meeting of charm. Ha ha, it would be great if I could find someone in the Heavenly Lake. Situ Mu looked into the distance. The clear sky was clear and there were no clouds. The autumn air was refreshing. It was as if he could see through the sky and see the figure that he had been dreaming about. Yen Ling will also participate. It has been 3 years. I can see her again. If I can bathe in the Heavenly Lake with her, I really can't ask for anything else. Senior brother, you are being love-struck again. Lady Yen Ling is a famous beauty. She is also very strong. I heard that when she was 3 years old, she was brought to the 4th heaven by sect master Yen Sun. She is like the devil race. She started training from the 4th heaven. Her strength is very terrifying. You don't even think about it. Are you still my junior sister? You, the sects around the sacred mountain, had already exchanged information. In the future, if they were to meet someone called Lu Chen, whose battle soul was called solipsistic, they must be careful. Lu Chen sneezed several times as he walked through the forest. F***ck, don't tell me I've caught a cold. Is my 8,000+ physique fake? Lu Chen rubbed his nose. He didn't know how many people had mentioned his name during this period of time. At this moment, he was walking leisurely in the forest. Rhubarb and Little Furball were fooling around in front of him. These two guys couldn't be more familiar with each other. Lu Chen believed that Little Furball wouldn't eat rhubarb in one bite. Little Green and Xiaomin were looking for medicinal herbs in the surroundings. Whenever Lu Yi wanted to go somewhere to look for medicinal herbs, Lu Chen would personally accompany her. In any case, Lu Chen didn't know what to do now. It was still a month before the Heavenly Lake Convention, so he had plenty of time. He couldn't wait to meet a few so-called dragon species. Killing monsters to level up was also good. Killing monsters to level up should be the Battle Soul's job, so it would only be effective if he entered the soul-body fusion state. All of this would have to wait until he met a real demon to verify. When he passed by Jinshui County, Lu Chen went to the Immortal Trading District to take a look. The shop was actually closed in the middle of the day. The beautiful owner had a note saying that she was going to participate in the Heavenly Lake Convention and would be back in 1.5 months. The surrounding shops didn't have anything good, but Lu Chen also bought a few low-level cooking recipes and some ingredients on a whim. He wanted to bring them along with him to level up his cooking skill. It was worth mentioning that Lu Chen also bought a fishing skill book, a fishing rod, and bait. If he had nothing to do, he wouldn't have to buy cooking ingredients every time. Little brother, you bought fishing gear. Do you want to buy this fashion set as well? Lu Chen was surprised. Boss, I've seen many salespeople, but you're the first salesperson to buy fishing gear and promote fashion. No, my fashion set is different. Look at my fisherman's fashion set. It can increase the probability of catching rare fish. Oh, there's such an attribute. Lu Chen was shocked. His fashion set only added a few hundred attribute points, plus some battle buffs, but they were all small ones. The boss actually had something that increased fishing success rate? Let me see. A lonely shadow fishing fashion set. When fishing, increase the probability of big fish appearing by 50%. Increase the probability of rare fish appearing by 50%. Damn, increase it by 50%? Yes, this is the fashion set I've seen that can increase a profession's stats the most. The boss was very excited. Let me tell you, when you fish with this set, at least one of the two fishing rods will have a big fish, and a rare fish too. With the current market, rare fish aren't cheap. Lu Chen nodded. Then how much is it? 5,000. Actually, this price is really not expensive. If you can get a top ingredient like the sea dragon carp, one fish can be sold for more than 200 spirit stones. You can break even with 25 fish, and the rest will be profit. Lu Chen shook his head. Boss, you're not a kind person. If you really want to make money like this, why don't you just use it yourself? Why are you still selling fishing gear? No matter how good these things are, how much money can you make? This. Hey, little brother, the attributes of this fashion set are really strong. No matter how cheap it is, I don't want to sell it. How about this? I'll take the 2,000 spirit stones. Look, I even bought your best fishing rod. So much bait, right? A fishing fashion set. Look at it, it's ugly. If I didn't want to learn how to fish, you'd probably have to wear it yourself. 2,000. The boss felt his heart ache. This guy bargained for half the price and even took a piece of meat. He didn't make much from the fishing gear, only a few dozen spirit stones in total. If you don't want to sell it, then forget it. The clothes are still too ugly. Boss, pay the bill. Seeing that the customer was about to leave, the boss finally gave in. Okay, I'll give you the 2,000 spirit stones. Hey, the attributes are so strong, but why does it have to be for fishing? Even if it's for mining, with these attributes, I can sell it for 10,000 spirit stones. 2,000 spirit stones, a lonely figure fishing. When he was about to leave Jinshui County, Lu Chen found a notice on the bulletin board next to the county. Today, an unknown expert came to the Sacred Mountain area and massacred the Azure Dragon School a few days ago. This person wore a red gown, had long white hair, and a pair of hairy ears on his head. Lu Chen's eyes widened. This matter had spread faster than him, and had already reached Jinshui County one step ahead of him? If that's the case, he believed that many cultivators would know about him. No wonder the boss kept staring at his wild blood sword god fashion set. The surrounding people who were looking at the bulletin board were already sizing up Lu Chen. After all, only Lu Chen had such a flashy color like red. Lu Chen pretended to squeeze out of the crowd and hurriedly disappeared into the crowd. Coming back to the wilderness, Lu Chen shook his head and sighed. Damn it, I just came to the 5th layer of heaven and I'm famous again. Chapter 737. After thinking about it, Lu Chen spent 1,000 points on the attribute scroll and raised his star level to 7 stars. Promoted to 6 stars Wild Cultivator. You have passed the novice stage. You will no longer receive the reward of the attribute scroll. Rank after 10 million. Promoted to 7 stars Wild Cultivator. Rank after 10 million. Lu Chen almost vomited blood. The reward was gone and his ranking did not change. So what if the reward was gone? Everyone was the same anyway, so it was not a loss. It seems that the rank of 10 million is a dividing line. The strong will probably pass the early stage of 1,000 points of spiritual energy for 1 star very quickly. That's why my ranking did not change even after I rose 2 stars. The polarization of the 5th celestial layer is quite obvious. The weak will find it hard to advance in the low star level, while the strong will probably gather in the top 10 million. I wonder when the next qualitative change will be. Now that he had leveled up to a 7-star wild cultivator and changed into the new lone fishing outfit, at least people wouldn't associate him with the massacre of the Azure Dragon sect. There was still a long way to go before reaching the Heavenly Lake. Lu Chen was not in a hurry. He traveled during the day and camped at night. He would always find some small rivers and streams to camp. The water in the rivers and streams could be drunk directly. There were also many wild vegetables and fruits around. After leisurely passing for half a month, Lu Chen's cooking skill rose to 4 stars. His fishing skill improved rapidly, surpassing his cooking skill and reaching 6 stars. This was mostly due to the lonely fishing outfit. It greatly increased the success rate of fishing and shortened the fishing time. This allowed him to level up so quickly. On a certain day after half a month, Lu Chen passed by a large lake. Although it was still early, he could not help but stop when he saw the lake. I wonder if there are any big fish here. Little Green, Xiao Min, let's camp here for a few days. I will increase my fishing level again. Boss, there are still 5 days to reach the Heavenly Lake. Since we have enough time, we can also look for herbs nearby. I feel that there should be many herbs nearby. Louis also liked this place very much. Since that was the case, everyone set up a campsite and got busy with the campfire. Lu Chen sat alone on a protruding rock in the middle of the river, fishing. Not long after, the bobber began to move. Lu Chen casually pulled it and was immediately stunned. The thing below seemed to be very strong. It's a big fish. Lu Chen was suddenly energized. Ha, I've never met such a strong fish before. The fishing rod that Lu Chen bought was the best in the shop. The boss said that as long as one's skills were good enough, they could catch any fish. Lu Chen was full of confidence. The 2 sides, one on the shore and one underwater, fought back and forth for more than 10 minutes. Lu Chen found that his stamina was almost exhausted. Damn, I have a physique of 8,600 and I can't beat a fish like you? Don't force me. The guy underwater seemed to be playing with Lu Chen. He swam around underwater, looking very energetic. Lu Chen exclaimed, "Not good, this fellow is not something that can be fished up by a 6-star fisherman. Furball, come and help me." From afar, little Furball scurried out of nowhere. The 2 of them held on tightly to their intuition and were almost dragged into the water by that fellow. This daddy doesn't believe it. Lu Chen's stubbornness flared up. Soul body as one. Xiao Min, who was boiling water, looked at Lu Chen in astonishment. It can't be right? You even use soul body as one for a fish? This time, Lu Chen's stamina soared. However, the fellow underwater also seemed to be getting serious and started a tug-of-war with Lu Chen. You're still not coming up? Fishing required patience. One could not use brute force all of a sudden. Otherwise, the fishing rod would break and the fish would escape. Lu Chen could only drag it out with this fellow. The sun set in the west and night fell. Lu Chen was still holding on to the fishing rod. The fishing rod had already been bent into a bow. If not for the fact that it was a top-grade fishing rod, it would have broken long ago. It's already been more than 2 hours. Lu Chen was really worried that the fishing rod would break. Half an hour later, the other party's strength was finally exhausted. Lu Chen instantly felt the pressure on him decrease sharply, and he began to reel in the line slowly. Not long later, the hook was pulled out of the water. He saw a golden carp hanging on the hook. Its body was weak and feeble. It flopped twice and hung there obediently. It can't be such a small one. Why is it so strong? Lu Chen kept the fishing rod and untied the little goldfish. Obtained, top-grade dragon species sea overturning golden dragon carp, can be cultivated. This is a dragon species? Lu Chen looked at the little carp in astonishment. The fellow's mouth was opening and closing, and it seemed to be lacking in oxygen. Lu Chen pondered for a moment and took a bucket of water, keeping it in temporarily. If the fish was dead, it would probably taste worse when cooked. Back in the water, the golden dragon carp regained its strength and swam back and forth in the water. "Let me go." A small voice suddenly sounded, startling Lu Chen. Can't be, are you talking? Yes, it's me. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Little Furball and Rhubarb couldn't speak, but this fellow spoke directly in human language. What exactly are you? In your eyes, I should be a dragon species monster. What exactly is a dragon species monster? You're so powerful, but you don't even know this. Dragon species monsters are monsters in this world. Don't you often get materials from monsters when you refine weapons, refine medicine, and train battle pets? Lu Chen blinked his eyes. I really don't know. I've been wandering around in this wilderness for almost a month, and you're the first dragon species monster I've met. In the end, you're still a fish. Speaking of which, do you have any treasures on you? I don't, Lu Chen smirked. You're lying to me. You're a top-grade dragon species monster, which means that the things on you must be even more precious. Let me go. I just sneaked out to play. I won't dare to trick you in the future. Lu Chen shook his head. This little thing's pitiful look really softened his heart. The key was that the carp had always been communicating with him. Its golden scales looked gorgeous. It was such a pity to kill such a small fish. Thinking of this, Lu Chen tilted the bucket and poured it directly into the lake. Go. I don't need your materials. Don't be so playful in the future. If you meet a powerful person, you're finished. The little carp was not far from the lake. It poked its head out and looked at Lu Chen in surprise. You're really letting me go? You're already in the water. Could it be a fake? Sigh, you even wasted my soul and body fusion. Lu Chen looked at the little golden carp. You can be in a stalemate with my battle soul for such a long time, and your growth rate is very low. In the future, you might really be able to become a carp that leaps over the dragon gate. Cultivate well. The little golden carp's big eyes turned and suddenly spat out a blue bead from its mouth. You didn't meet any monsters on the way because of the guy beside you, but I think it's very playful. It might not be able to protect you all the time. Without the soul and body fusion, you'll be in danger. This is for you. Help me protect you. After saying that, the little carp dived into the lake, and its golden figure gradually swam further and further away in the lake until it disappeared. Chapter 738. Acquired Item, Clear Water Pearl, Immortal Level Magic Weapon, Special. Clear Water Pearl, Water Attribute Magic Weapon. It does not have combat ability, but it can increase affinity with water element. Lu Chen was puzzled. That fish gave him an immortal level magic weapon? This thing did not have any attribute bonus, but it could increase affinity with water element. He did not know what affinity with water elements was used for. If I have a water element attack in the future, will it increase my attack power? Lu Chen could not figure out the effect of this pearl. Boss, do you want to try it? Lu Chen nodded, put on the clear water pearl, and walked towards the lake. However, as soon as he took a step, he sank into the water. Coming out of the water, Lu Chen shook his head. At least this proves that this pearl will not make me lie on the water. The specific effect of the clear water pearl was still unknown, but there was no limit to the number of places it could be used. Lu Chen wore it first, and he would know its effect sooner or later. This fishing experience made Lu Chen understand one thing. In the fifth heaven, there was a very small chance of catching dragon necropolis monsters, and some of the monsters here already had spiritual intelligence. Dragon-type monsters were definitely not the simple monsters he encountered before. This kind of world is more like a Xianxia world. Lu Chen sighed. Fortunately, in the next few days, Lu Chen did not meet little golden carp again. He lived a leisurely life by the lake, fishing, cooking, picking herbs. There were still 6 or 7 days before the Heavenly Lake Convention. Lu Chen saw that it was about time, so he packed up his things and left the nameless lake with Little Green and the rest. Not long after Lu Chen and the rest left, a golden light rose from the lake, and a little carp poked its head out of the lake, looking at the backs of the group of people with a lonely expression. Benefactor, why do you have the aura of ancient demon blood in your body? Are you an ancient demon? No wonder your war soul is so strong. But no matter who you are little golden carp's benefactor since you let me go. I hope we can meet again. Little golden carp will cultivate well. 6 days later, Lu Chen reached the foot of the holy mountain. Compared to the azure dragon gate, the sacred mountain was much taller. Looking up, one could only see half of the mountain hidden in the clouds. The mountain was huge, and its surroundings stretched for dozens of miles. In comparison, the Azure Dragon School was like a small mountain. At this moment, a large number of cultivators had already gathered in the county town at the foot of the mountain. They all had badges with stars on their chests. Lu Chun noticed that among the people who came here, there were actually cultivators of the cultivator realm, which should be the next level of cultivator. Most of these practitioners had introverted eyes. They were not young and had extraordinary bearings. They might be the core members of the major sections. They would often bring a few young people with them. These young people were all in the prime of their lives. The men were handsome, and the women were like flowers in full bloom. Damn, so many handsome men and beautiful women? Are all youths in the fifth celestial layer so good-looking? Lu Chen felt a little guilty. With his looks, he was afraid that he would be a hindrance to the overall attractiveness of the fifth heaven. Lu Chen's lonely fishing was not elegant in appearance at all. After all, it was a fashion used for fishing. It completely looked like a laborer. Speaking of which, along the way from the forest, there were also many villages around the sacred mountain. However, looking at the villagers, they seemed to be living and working in peace. They were not as miserable as the hunting dragon village. Maybe not every sect will treat the surrounding people like that. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. "Waiter, give us 2 heaven room," a young man said to Lu Chen. Lu Chen was speechless. The inn's waiter was busy somewhere, and there was a group of people waiting in front of the counter. And this group of people who just came actually thought that he was the inn's waiter? "Esteemed guest, there are no more heavenly guest rooms." Lu Chen purposely blocked the position in front of his chest and said respectfully, "No more." "Yes, as you can see, our side is full of customers." "Then, what about earth room or man room?" "No more." "Tisk, why didn't you say so earlier? You made us wait for so long." The people in front of Lu Chen did not suspect Lu Chen's identity at all. Once they heard Lu Chen's words, they immediately scattered like birds and beasts. In an instant, only Lu Chen was left in front of the counter. Coincidentally, at this time, the waiter came out to greet the customers. "Immortals, sorry for the long wait. The inn is really too busy, and we are a little understaffed. We just brought the customers to the rooms. There are still 4 heaven room here. Where are the immortals going?" The waiter was confused. Why did the people who were waiting here suddenly leave? "There are still 4 rooms, right? Give me 2. In front of the counter, a plain-looking person suddenly said. "2 rooms, right? Okay, 1 day is 3 spirit stones. How many days do you want to stay?" The waiter did not dare to neglect this person. After all, he also had an immortal badge on his chest. "How many days will the Heavenly Lake Convention last?" Lu Chen asked. "Immortal, the Heavenly Lake Convention usually lasts for a long time. However, this year might be more lively. Most immortals book 10 days. Okay, then I also want 10 days. A mere 60 spirit stones was nothing to Lu Chen. He quickly paid the spirit stones. "Hey, aren't you a waiter? Why are you like this?" "We were in front just now." A commotion came from behind. Lu Chen turned around and smiled sinisterly. "I didn't say I was a waiter. If you want to believe me, there's nothing I can do." "You rascal! You're despicable! How can there be such a shameless person? It's fine if you're ugly, but your heart is so dirty. Which sect are you from? I'll go and talk to your sect leader." Lu Chen did not care about them and walked up the stairs. Which sect? He was just a rogue cultivator. What was there to be afraid of? There were 2 heavenly rooms. Lu Chen, Rhubarb, and Little Hairball had 1 room. Lu Chen also arranged 1 room for Xiao Min and Little Green. If there was any trade fair, Little Green and the rest could continue to buy medicinal ingredients. The next day, the Heavenly Lake Convention officially began. Lu Chen saw many people coming out of the inn and walking towards the sacred mountain early in the morning. Lu Chen quickly joined the group. At the foot of the sacred mountain, there were people checking the invitation tokens. From the attitude of the welcoming disciples, the status of the Grand Ascension token seemed to be very low. Those who had the Grand Ascension token were mostly let through perfunctorily. However, they were especially enthusiastic towards those who had the Grand Ascension token. There were even disciples who personally led the way. In addition, there were also VIP tokens, and special tokens. However, these had nothing to do with Lu Chen. He was mainly here to see the world. It was fine as long as he could enter. Grand Ascension token, why is there only one of you? The disciples of Heavenly Mountain looked at Lu Chen strangely. Also, you came to the Heavenly Lake Convention and you're dressed like this? Lu Chen shrugged his shoulders. In our sect, I'm already the most presentable, Anyway, since you're here, our Heavenly Lake welcomes you. Please come up the mountain. Chapter 739. Entering the sacred mountain, there was a stone tablet at the foot of the mountain that wrote, "Although the path of Shu is difficult, the path of immortality is even more dangerous." Looking up, there were no stone steps here, only steep mountain walls. At this time, there were already people struggling to move forward on the mountain walls. Lu Chen frowned slightly. This formalism is too obvious. He spread his wings and flew. As a birdman with the bloodline of victory, Lu Chen soared into the sky, passing countless people who were struggling to climb, and reached the mountainside in 10 minutes. A group of people stared at the figure that flew past them, their faces full of shock. Isn't the sacred mountain prohibited the use of flying mounts? Isn't that a mount? Who is this? Why does he have wings? A foreign race? Impossible, the sacred mountain won't invite foreign races, but he can actually fly. This is too much. Lu Chen's wings were dropped by a level 1 blood demon. Although it wasn't particularly precious, even at level 4, Lu Chen had never seen anyone else with wings. Powerful races disdained a pair of wings that had no attributes and were almost useless in battle. They started to train their battle soul from level 1. Those who were weak couldn't defeat the blood demon at the beginning of the server, which led to wings being extremely rare. Lu Chen landed halfway up the mountain. There was a rest area here, and the host provided food and water for the guests. After that, there was a flight of stairs, with hundreds of stairs leading to the majestic hall at the top of the mountain. Looking over, one could see that there were clouds and mist lingering there, giving it a celestial feel. The Azure Dragon clan can't be compared to this place, it's a lot worse. Lu Chen sighed. Is this a real immortal cultivation sect? It has a bit of style. Climbing up the stairs, Lu Chen realized that what he saw below was actually just the tip of the iceberg. The majestic building was just the entrance to the sacred mountain Heavenly Lake. Entering the main entrance, there were buildings with architectural styles similar to ancient buildings. Scripture Hall, Martial Arts Field, Book Pavilion, Sword Pavilion, 5 Grains Hall, and the Disciple Dongting, where the disciples lived. Wow, the scale of the sacred mountain Heavenly Lake is so big. At this time, there was an endless stream of guests coming up the mountain. The disciples of the Holy Mountain were in charge of receiving these guests. A pretty girl saw Lu Chen and walked up with a smile on her face. Fellow immortal, I see that this is your first time coming to our sacred mountain. Let me take you to the Heavenly Lake. This girl didn't dislike Lu Chen's shabby clothes, which made Lu Chen have a good impression of her. He smiled and said, "Okay, thank you for the trouble." Being called Immortal Big Sister, Little Big Sister couldn't help but laugh. Why are you speaking so glibly? What Immortal Big Sister? Aren't we all immortal friends? Lu Chen smiled. Immortal cultivators aren't necessarily friends. Yes, you're right. Everyone pursues a different great Tao. As the saying goes, those who walk different paths cannot work together. How about this? My name is Ingli. We're about the same age, and you're also a 7-star. You're a rogue cultivator? The emblem of a 7-star cultivator and a 7-star rogue cultivator was almost the same. Previously, the disciples didn't notice that Lu Chun was a rogue cultivator. Or rather, most of them subconsciously looked at the 7-star emblem and didn't look at the words behind it. It was rare to see a 7-star cultivator who hadn't joined a sect. Lu Chun smiled and said, "Yes, but I also received your invitation token." Lu Chun took out his token and showed it to Ingli. After all, Ingli wasn't a welcoming disciple at the entrance. She was just a disciple who led the way inside. Since the other party had a token, even if he was a welcoming disciple, she naturally wouldn't care. "It's okay. Since you have a token, I'll treat everyone equally. How should I address you?" "Nameless." "Nameless? Okay, I'll take you up." On the way, Lu Chun looked at the handsome men and beautiful women around him. He felt that there was an indescribable atmosphere in the air. It was probably the feeling of love. Little big sisteringly, what kind of event is the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting? What's the competition about? Don't you know? Oh, that's right. After all, you don't have a sect. The Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting is actually a competition of the body's potential talent. In the fifth heaven, the battle soul is indeed powerful. However, in the long run, the battle soul is only a part of the body's strength. The one who truly cultivates immortality is still our body. The competition will be relatively easy. Everyone can go on stage at will. As long as you complete the test within 5 days, it will be fine. Lu Chun blinked his eyes. He had never seen such an easy competition before. What kind of test? How do you test a person's potential talent? Ingli said patiently, potential talent has nothing to do with 1-star level. 1-star level can be seen from the badge. Basically, there's no need for a test. As for potential, it depends on one's comprehension and battle talent. The test is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the elemental test. Under the situation where the soul and body as one is not suitable, you have to use the elemental techniques that you're good at. Whoever attracts more elemental spirits will have greater potential. The second part is the occupation test. There are 9 main occupations and a total of 54 branches. Every occupation has its own specialties. Our test will test the potential of up to 6 different occupations. Moreover, although these 6 occupations are random, the differences will definitely be huge. For example, if you're riding a sword and you have to use close combat techniques for pugilists, how would you perform? How would you perform if you used magic attacks? How would you perform if you used assassination techniques? This combination will not only reveal a person's most primitive ability, but also their battle talent. For the third part, if you enter this test, it means that your results in the first 2 tests are very good. There's hope for you to enter the final 3. This test is the only real combat stage. This stage is also the best way to show a person's overall strength. Of course, the real combat I'm talking about is not a real combat with martial art. It's another form of real combat. Another form of real combat? Yes, the day-chasing competition. What's that? You don't even know about the day-chasing competition? Are you sure you're here to participate in the Heavenly Lake Convention? Alright, since there's still a long way to go, I'll tell you about it. The day-chasing competition is about a rare dragon-type demon beast. This type of demon beast is very small, probably smaller than your fist. However, its speed and reaction are extremely fast. During the competition, everyone will be in their own team and will be in a special area. In this area, everyone's attributes will be the same. Moreover, every minute, 3 different occupations, martial arts, and 3 different elemental attacks will be randomly disabled. The day-chasing competition is to see who can catch the sun-chasing beast first and not let it be snatched away by others for a minute. In the past, the competition was very intense. Not only was it difficult to catch the sun-chasing beast, even if one was lucky enough to catch it, it would be very hard to maintain it because the others would definitely do their best to fight for it. The first 3 people to snatch the sun-chasing beast will enter the final 3 and have the qualifications to bathe in the Heavenly Lake. Oh right. During this year's Heavenly Lake meeting, our junior sister Yanling, senior brother Huang Xian, and other experts with extremely outstanding potential will compete with all of you. However, they won't be counted in your rankings. You can be at ease about this. Lu Chen slightly frowned. This test is quite interesting. Chapter 740. Ingli was quite enthusiastic. After introducing the Heavenly Lake pageant, she said, "Actually, it doesn't matter if you can bathe in the Heavenly Lake or not. Since I came to the Heavenly Lake, there has been a Heavenly Lake pageant every year. Every time, there will be people who get the chance to bathe in the Heavenly Lake. However, no one has improved. The other sects are attached to our sacred mountain. They hope that their outstanding disciples can become immortal companions with our sacred mountain's disciples to strengthen the relationship between both sides. So, the Heavenly Lake pageant has changed. You should have noticed it. It's more like a blind date pageant now." Lu Chen couldn't help but gasp. The Heavenly Lake pageant had become a blind date pageant? No wonder everyone was dressed so conspicuously. Everyone paid extra attention to their appearance. Apart from having a high star level, the most important thing was that they were all very good-looking. On the other hand, he had come to the blind date conference in such a sloppy manner while he was fishing alone. "Sigh, Nameless, I feel that even though you have an ordinary appearance, you're actually quite pleasing to the eye. Furthermore, you're a very interesting person. I feel that conversing with you is like chatting with a fellow disciple," Ingli suddenly said. Lu Chen frowned slightly. He didn't know what Ingli was trying to say. "If you like any senior or junior sister, I will introduce you." Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. "Thank you for your good intentions. However, I am more interested in the Heavenly Lake." Oh, Ingli dragged her voice. She looked at Lu Chen as if she could see through everything. "So, you have a special feeling for junior sister Yanling, right?" "Yanling? Hey, don't be embarrassed. Junior sister Yanling is the apple of our sect leader's eye. She has an illustrious status. Her strength and potential are second to none in the sect. Moreover, her looks, temperament, and figure are 1 in a million. The number of people who like her can go all the way to the 6th heaven." Lu Chen felt wronged. He really didn't know what kind of person Yanling was. Ingli didn't give Lu Chen a chance to explain. The two of them had already arrived at the Heavenly Lake Plaza. After some rearrangements, the Heavenly Lake Plaza was already packed with people. Generally, the guests were mainly gathered in a few areas: elemental testing area, cultivation method testing area, under the shade of a tree, beside a bench. Speaking of which, the women sitting there were all dressed up meticulously. They were quite charming, and Lu Chen was dazzled by them. Unfortunately, these beauties ignored Lu Chen as soon as they saw him. Lu Chen's current image had dragged down the average appearance of the entire Heavenly Lake pageant. "Which sister have you taken a fancy to?" Ingli asked curiously. Women were all so fond of gossip, no. "By the way, Miss Ingli, aren't you going on a blind date?" "Me?" Ingli's face instantly turned red. "I'm not qualified enough. Although 6-star cultivators can participate in the Heavenly Lake meeting, most of the people who come are elites from sections. At the very least, they would take a fancy to 8 or 9-star senior sisters." Lu Chen laughed. "It's just a date. What's there to look at? I just think you're beautiful." "Don't tease me," Ingli said shyly. She quickly changed the topic. "By the way, the day pursuit competition hasn't started yet. It will only be held on the last day. Nameless, you can go and test the other 2 items first." Lu Chen nodded. To him, the other items were more attractive than the beauties around him. However, there were too many people at the 2 testing areas. Although there were a few testing areas, they were all completely surrounded. There were people testing, relatives and friends, and there were also people who were just here to watch the fun. In short, it was impossible to squeeze in. It's a pity that you have a token. Otherwise, you could cut in line, Ingli said. In the Jiutian, every detail reflected the idea of the strong being respected. Lu Chen didn't mind. It's fine. Don't we just have to complete the test in 4 days? Ingli, why don't you take me to the Heavenly Lake? Yes, sure. The two of them left the most crowded area and headed to the Heavenly Lake. The peak of the Heavenly Lake was like the crater of a volcano. However, the crater of the volcano was filled with lake water. Lu Chen originally thought that the Heavenly Lake was just a small pond. He didn't expect the Heavenly Lake to be as big as a lake. There were also some visitors around the Heavenly Lake. However, the area was very big, so there were only a few people. This is the Heavenly Lake? Yes. Be careful and don't fall in. Unless the Heavenly Lake is open, if you fall in, even the disciples of the Holy Mountain will be injured by the protective array. Lu Chen nodded. However, even though he was standing on the shore, Lu Chen could feel the abundant spiritual energy rushing towards him. It was indeed the spiritual source of a level 5 sect. Compared to the spiritual source of the Heavenly Lake, his army's spiritual source was like the light of a firefly. Your spiritual energy should increase very quickly if you cultivate in a place like this, right? Normally, how many points of spiritual energy can you increase in a minute? Just as Lu Chen finished speaking, Ingli couldn't help but giggle. Nameless, this is the first time I've heard of how many points of spiritual energy can be increased in a minute. The spiritual energy here is indeed abundant. This is the foundation of our holy mountain. However, even so, it's impossible to increase a few points of spiritual energy in a minute. At most, it's just how much pure spiritual energy can be increased. Lu Chen then realized that he had let it slip. Not everyone had the mixed divine-demon cultivation method. For most people, the increase in spiritual energy from spiritual pills was still measured in pure spiritual energy. Okay. Alright, how long can I bathe in one time? Is there a time limit? It depends on your reaction. There is indeed a powerful spiritual source under the Heavenly Lake. However, the Heavenly Lake's water is different. Even if you bathe in the Heavenly Lake, the effect might be similar to cultivating in the Cultivation Heart Palace. However, I've heard that a few people who bathe in the Heavenly Lake can improve very quickly. Under such circumstances, we won't interrupt their cultivation. However, at least I haven't met such a person since I've been here for a long time. Lu Chen nodded. He was not sure whether he could absorb the spiritual energy of the Heavenly Lake's water. This thing could only depend on fate. After visiting the Heavenly Lake, Lu Chen went down the mountain and returned to the inn on the same day. On the second day, the third day, and the fourth day, he wandered in the town at the foot of the mountain. He wanted to see if Tao Tao had withdrawn any coupons from the immortal trading area. Obviously, it was basically impossible to find the withdrawal coupons in the town near the Holy Mountain. Because even if there were, they would be bought by the Holy Mountain. Lu Chen didn't return to the Holy Mountain until the last day of the test period. Ingli found Lu Chen, who went up the mountain leisurely. She ran to him hurriedly. Why didn't you come up these days? Have you finished the test? Even if you don't have any hope, you should at least have a try. This kind of test opportunity is also good for your future development. Lu Chen nodded. I'm here now. You see, there are no people in the test points. I don't need to line up at all. Yes, you don't need to line up. Because the statistical results will come out soon. Oh, why are you still so leisurely? It's really the case that the eunuch is anxious. Come on, I'll take you to the test. Chapter 741. Senior brother, there's one more person who hasn't been tested yet. Ingli shouted anxiously to the disciple in charge of the elemental testing. It's Ingli. She hasn't been tested yet? The disciple of the sacred sect felt strange. We've already submitted the results for the same level. Everyone is waiting for the result. Senior brother, please help me. This guy is here for the first time. He's a rogue cultivator, so no one informed him. Rogue cultivator. Alright. Hurry up. The disciple reactivated the array for Ingli's sake. Lu Chen was pushed into the testing area by Ingli. Now, almost everyone was waiting for the final result in the distance. There were only a few people here and there. Why is there still someone taking the test? He's only taking the test now. Is he holding a level 4 token? He's actually a 7-star rogue cultivator? He's 7-star and hasn't joined a sect? I don't think there's anything to see. 7-star is low to begin with, and there's no support from the sect. He's probably here to test himself. These people stood outside the testing area curiously, watching the commotion while waiting for the result. Lu Chen stood in the open-air testing area, and Ingli's senior brother walked over. Hey kid, there are a total of 22 stones around. Each stone has its own elemental attribute. Attack whichever element you're good at. There's an elemental spirit in the stone. According to the elemental potential of your attack, the elemental spirit in the stone will be awakened. We'll calculate the awakening ratio and use it as your final result. Lu Chen asked curiously, Senior brother, may I know what elemental potential is? You don't even know elemental potential? Sai, you should join a sect. The sect will talk about these things. The senior brother had a good temper. Although he was a little impatient, he still explained it for Ingli's sake. You know that many techniques can change elemental types, right? Lu Chen nodded. Of course, he knew this. There are many elemental enhancement materials in the fifth heaven. For example, the fire god fist can convert 80% of one's spiritual power attack into fire elemental attack. However, when combined with a fire stone, it can increase the fire elemental attack by another 20%. Before the 4th level, everyone's Vulcan's fist's elemental conversion rate is the same. But after that, it's different. Some people can achieve 200% fire elemental attack, while others can only achieve 150%. This is a person's elemental potential. Our test is to test your elemental potential. Elemental spirits are very sensitive, so you don't have to worry. We can test your elemental potential, which is the upper limit of your elemental attacks in the future. During the test, try to use the skill with the lowest attack power among the elements you're good at. This is a test of potential, not attack power. It has nothing to do with the attack power of the move. Lu Chen nodded in confusion. He understood most of what senior brother said. In short, he would use the elemental attacks he was good at, and then the elemental fairy would judge whose elemental potential was higher. But the question was, what element did Lu Chen want to test? He had 3 types of pure elemental attack. One was lightning and the other was darkness. They were the elemental conversion abilities of Shun Lu and Mo Lu respectively. The other was the ability of the Primordial Heart Sutra, a chaotic type of attack. In addition, the 9 dragon pillars contained 9 types of elements. However, those were the elemental attacks of the 9 dragons. He did not know if it would affect his result. What element was he good at? Obviously, the chaotic type of attack should be the strongest. However, after looking around, Lu Chen did not find the chaotic element testing stone. Big brother, hurry up. There's not much time left. Ingli urged from outside. She was even more anxious than Lu Chen. Lu Chen shook his head. In the end, he decided to test the lightning element. At least he did not need to enter Mo Lu's state. That state was now very famous. The white-haired figure when he massacred the Green Dragon sect. Lightning element attack type change. Lu Chen changed his elemental attribute. His right arm began to crackle with electric charges. Since the power of the skill would not affect the results of the test, Lu Chen's current attacks had all been changed to lightning element attack. The one with the lowest attack power was obviously a normal attack. Anyway, Shen Lu's elemental conversion was to change all attacks into lightning element attack. It did not target a specific skill. After some preparation, Lu Chen punched the lightning element testing stone. No way, that idiot is using a normal attack? This guy doesn't even know about elemental testing. After talking for so long, he said to test with the element he's good at. In the end, he used a normal attack. His IQ is indeed very low. He's an unorthodox cultivator. He's definitely different from us decent people. After Lu Chen punched, he waited for 3 seconds. Yingli's eyes widened. She really wanted to see the results of Lu Chen's elemental testing. However, why was there no reaction from the lightning element testing stone? It can't be, he can't even awaken an elemental spirit? Yingli was worried for Lu Chen. This guy can't be an insulator. An insulator was a person who could not resonate with any element. They were very rare, even rarer than those geniuses. If that was the case, Nameless would become a laughingstock in the entire fifth heaven in the future. Yingli suddenly felt very guilty. No wonder that guy was unwilling to take the test. He was an elemental insulator. Why didn't you tell me? If you had told me, I wouldn't have let you take the test. Yingli looked sadly at the dumbfounded guy in the field. As expected, there was a huge commotion among the few onlookers. An insulator. He's an elemental insulator. I finally know why he's a 7-star unorthodox cultivator. Which sect would accept such a piece of trash? He's an insulator. Ha 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 ha, I actually saw an elemental insulator. Don't you know whether you have elemental potential or not? You clearly know that you're an elemental insulator, yet you still came out to embarrass yourself? There's something wrong with your brain. I guess he was confused by the smoke spirit and wanted to bathe in the heavenly lake with a beauty, so he threw caution to the wind. What an idiot! Lu Chen was puzzled. The elemental insulators they were talking about were probably people who had no elemental potential. However, did he really have no elemental potential? He couldn't be so unlucky. After waiting for 10 seconds, the lightning element testing stone still did not react. Senior brother shook his head. What a waste of time. Alright, you can leave now. I'm going to close the spell formation. I'll report your results to the higher-ups. Lu Chen did not say anything else and left the testing area. The onlookers kept pointing at him and whispering among themselves. Kid, you're the first elemental insulator I've seen. What an eye-opener. Others are here to test whether they're prodigies or not. You're here to test whether you're a piece of trash. Ha ha ha, interesting. You've reached the end of your journey. The fifth heaven is your final destination. Yingli walked in front of Lu Chen and did not even dare to look at Lu Chen. Why didn't you say that you were an elemental insulator? Lu Chen shook his head. I didn't know that before. I'm sorry. If I didn't keep dragging you along, it's okay. I was going to take the test anyway. So what if I'm an insulator? Lu Chen had an indifferent expression. Alright, bring me to the next test. Huh? You still want to take the test? Yingli's eyes widened as she looked at Lu Chen in shock. Chapter 742. Lu Chen and Yingli were about to leave when a series of strong vibrations came from behind them. What's going on? Everyone looked at the elemental testing area in surprise. The vibrations were coming from there. Soon, the 22 elemental testing stones all emitted a strong light. Metal, wood, water, fire, wind, rain, thunder, lightning. Light spots of various colors flew out from the 22 elemental stones and circled the area. There were hundreds of light spots in total, illuminating the area with brilliant colors like an illusion. These are elemental spirits. Why are so many elemental spirits suddenly running out? F*ck. How many elemental spirits are there? There are hundreds of them. Did something happen when the elemental spirit summoning array was turned off? These spirits seem to be looking for something. Damn, if anyone can summon so many elemental spirits during the elemental testing, that would be unbelievable. It's impossible for anyone to summon so many elemental spirits at the same time. Let's not talk about numbers, the elements reinforce and counteract each other. If you're good at the fire element, you can't be good at the water element. If no one can summon all the elemental spirits, there must be a problem with the array. Soon, dozens of holy mountain disciples rushed over from afar. They hurriedly helped the person in charge to check the array. It looked like they were going to turn it off by force. In the distance, in the resting area of the square where the results were announced, the powerful cultivators stood up one after another. Even they had noticed the abnormality here. Yu Hua, what's wrong with the elemental summoning array? An old man sat on the main seat of the rostrum and narrowed his eyes slightly. Sect Master, there might be some malfunction. It seems that the elemental spirits in the elemental stones were summoned abnormally. I've already gone to check it out. Abnormally summoned. The old man frowned slightly. The elemental summoning array has been in use for hundreds of years, and there has never been a problem. I saw someone over there testing just now. Could it be caused by his testing? Sect Master, I've asked around. All 22 elemental stones are abnormal. It's possible if there are 5 or 6 elements, or even 7 or 8, but to say there are 22, that's impossible. Yes, Grandpa. A beautiful woman stood behind Sect Master Yinxuan. This young woman had long hair that flowed down like a waterfall, fine features, and a pair of clear and dazzling eyes. She was like an elegant snow lotus that was silently blooming, and she was like a celestial maiden that was otherworldly and pure. Even if it was the Skypond meeting that was called the blind date meeting, where countless beauties vied for beauty, she would instantly become the center of attention even if she just stood there. Speaking of this woman's appearance, she was definitely one of the top beauties in the fourth heaven. Just by looking at her appearance, this woman gave people a feeling that she could only be admired from afar and not touched. She called the sect master of the Holy Mountain, Yen Sun, grandfather, so she was naturally the rumored Yen Ling. I can only activate 7 types of elemental spirits. How can someone activate all of them? Yen Ling said angrily with an unconcealable arrogance. Although our Heavenly Lake's elemental formation doesn't dare to claim that it contains all the elements, but among the 22 elements, there are several pairs of elements that counter each other. It's impossible for anyone to summon an all-elemental spirit. Grandpa, although there won't be any problems with the elemental summoning formation, since the formation is controlled by someone, it's inevitable that there will be negligence. A handsome man beside Yen Ling snorted and said, Junior Marshal Sister Yen Ling is right. Moreover, from the number of elemental spirits summoned, they are very powerful. How can there be someone who can summon an all-elemental spirit and maintain such a high elemental potential? Yen Sun wasn't completely convinced by these people. He narrowed his eyes slightly and called his personal disciple. Yuan go check on the young man who was tested just now. Yes, Master. Not long after, Yuan Yen returned and reported, Master, he's a cultivator from the 7 Stars Wilderness. The result of the elemental test is Elemental Isolator. The elders of the Holy Mountain were surprised. Elemental Isolator? That means he didn't trigger any elemental spirits within 15 seconds. Senior Martial Brother Sect Master, I think you're paying attention to the wrong person. As far as I know, when an elemental isolator appears, the elemental formation will compensate. Whenever an elemental isolator appears, the elemental summoning formation will always have a temporary abnormality. This explains the accident just now. Yen Sun was still frowning. Was it really an illusion? Sigh. By the way, Yuan what's the result of his class test? Master, he hasn't taken the test yet. Ingli said he just came to take the test today. Actually, I don't think his result will be too good. Elemental isolator in every class is. Yuan Yen didn't need to continue. The proportion of the elements in the fifth heaven was even higher. Elemental isolators wouldn't do too well. At this moment, a disciple walked to the rostrum and asked Yen Sun for instructions. Uncle Master, Sect Master, my master wants me to ask you if you want to announce the final result now? It's about time. This disciple was Elder Xian's disciple. Elder Xian was in charge of announcing the test result. Yen Sun frowned slightly. After a moment of contemplation, he said, in the past, when no one took the test, it was fine for us to announce the results a moment earlier. However, since there are still people taking the test this time, we'll follow the normal procedure. There's still some time now. Tell Junior Marshal Brother Xian to wait a little longer. Yes, Uncle Master, Sect Master. I'll go back and tell Master now. Yen Sun thought for a moment and stood up. Since the results haven't been announced yet, I can go and see this young man who didn't even bother to take the test until the last moment. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at the sect master in disbelief. The Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting had been held for many years. The sect master had almost never seen the younger generation take the test. He didn't even go to Yen Ling and Huang Xian's test. However, he suddenly went to see a stranger take the test today, and it was an elemental isolator test, in the vocational cultivation technique testing area. According to the rules, Lu Chun had to choose a set of 6 vocational cultivation techniques. He had to complete a series of attacks in a short period of time. The requirement was to fuse the skills of these 6 professions and fully display the strengths of each profession. His opponents were 6 puppets of different professions. These vocational skill books were skills that could be learned by all professions. Their levels weren't high, but they didn't need to be too high. It was a test. The main thing was to see if the tester could perfectly fuse the skills of the various professions. When using the skills of the various professions, the skills displayed were all manifestations of the tester's combat potential. Lu Chun had just tested the element. He got something called elemental isolator. It seemed to be about the same as getting a 0, however, Lu Chun was still quite confident in this vocational test. Just as he was about to draw the cultivation technique set, he suddenly realized that a large group of people had rushed over. What's the meaning of this? Lu Chun was a little confused. Why did so many people suddenly come over? They were fighting to be the first to see a rogue cultivator like him take the test. Don't tell me they know my identity. Lu Chun felt a little guilty. Chapter 743. Is this the elemental insulator? He looks so ordinary, but he suddenly became the center of attention. Even though I'm so handsome, there aren't so many people watching my test. So what? If it wasn't for the sect leader of the Holy Mountain, who would come to watch this kind of rubbish test, I think his results are probably the worst. The surrounding people discussed without any scruples. Lu Chun was relieved when he heard this. Fortunately, they didn't come because of his identity. Lu Chun had not yet started to draw the cultivation method when an old man walked in front of Lu Chun under the watchful eyes of everyone. Hello, young man. Welcome to the Holy Mountain Heavenly Lake. Lu Chun looked at the old man. This person gave people the impression that he was very generous, and he spoke very politely to him. The most important thing was the badge on his chest. 7-star cultivator. 1 level higher than him. It could be estimated that a 9-star cultivator's spiritual energy should be around 9,000 points. After becoming a cultivator, the spiritual energy requirement for each level would definitely be higher. A 7-star cultivator's spiritual energy might be around 20,000 points. In fact, this kind of spiritual energy was not that far away from the spiritual energy of an ordinary person's war soul. Young man, I'm the sect leader of the Holy Mountain. Do you know the result of the elemental test just now? Yen Sun said. Lu Chen shook his head. Hello, sect leader Yen. It seems to be an elemental insulator. Don't you feel anything? I mean, when you use elemental attacks, have you never compared them with others? Yen Sun's eyes were filled with expectation. The Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting had been held for so many years, but now it had turned into a blind date. This was naturally not what he wanted to see, or rather, this was not what he wanted to see the most. The blind date could indeed consolidate the position of the Holy Mountain Heavenly Lake. The foundation of marriage could allow the Holy Mountain to maintain inextricable ties with the other sections. However, what he wanted more was to find top talents. After seeing Lu Chen, Yen Sun felt that this young man was somewhat different. He didn't seem to mind that he was an elemental insulator. Could it be that he knew that the result of the test was wrong? As long as Lu Chen could prove that his elemental attacks were stronger than others, he could arrange another test. Unfortunately, Lu Chen only shook his head. I don't know either. Lu Chen really didn't know what his elemental potential was. Not to mention that the elements he was good at were all rare elements. The key was that he didn't even know that elemental attacks could be strengthened in the fifth heaven. Without any elemental enhancement materials, he didn't know to what extent he could break through. Upon hearing Lu Chen's reply, Seeker was a little disappointed. Perhaps it was because he was too eager to find a top-notch genius. Actually, when he thought about it carefully, was there really such a person with full elemental affinity? That probability was much lower than that of an elemental insulator. If that's the case, young man, don't be discouraged. As far as I know, there are people who can break through the limits of the human body and reach a very powerful realm through continuous cultivation, the old man said with a smile. Lu Chen nodded. Thank you for your encouragement, Sect Master. Take the test well then. Although you probably won't be able to enter the top 20, since you're here, take it as a test for yourself. Lu Chen didn't comment on the importance of participation. He suddenly asked, Senior Sect Master, may I ask, what kind of results do I have to achieve to enter the top 20? Upon hearing this, there was a sudden burst of ridicule from the crowd. Ha ha, what a joke! This person actually wants to enter the top 20? The previous test showed that he was an elemental insulator. Doesn't he know whether he can enter the top 20 or not? He's playing to the gallery. I think it's because he noticed that so many beauties are looking at him, so he's deliberately saying that to make others think that he's not that useless. Paying attention to him? We're just watching a monkey's performance. Look at how shabbily dressed he is, a beauty said on behalf of the many female onlookers. Seeker was also stunned for a moment, but since there was still a glimmer of hope in the other party's heart, he couldn't be too harsh. This this year's gathering of talents may be higher than in previous years. Because the overall results of the two tests are required to determine the ranking, you may have to defeat 2 puppets to have a chance of entering the top 20 and participating in the final test, the Day Pursuit competition. Defeat 2 puppets? The surrounding people immediately exclaimed, it's already very difficult to defeat 1 puppet with a skill that he's not familiar with. Only Yen Ling, Huang Xian, and a few other top super geniuses can do this. It should be about the same. He scored almost 0 in the previous tests, so his score in this test will definitely be twice as high as the average person. Elemental insulators are all trash. How strong can they be in actual combat? He should give up now. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Just now, Seeker Smoke said that it was possible to enter the top 20, but it still wasn't safe. It seemed that he had to defeat at least 3 puppets. After encouraging Lu Chen with a few words, Seeker Smoke walked out of the testing area. Lu Chen began to enter the segment of drawing skills for his class. For Lu Chen, it didn't matter what class it was, so he casually drew a scroll. When he opened the scroll, there were a total of 6 battle skills. The Prophet's first advancement job, Elementalist's low-level skill, Magic Bullet. The Pugilist's low-level skill, Melee Flurry Dance. The Beast Tamer's low-level skill, Earthbind Trap. The Pugilist's second advancement job, God's Descendant Archer's low-level skill, Rain of Flame Arrows. The Sword Spirit's first advancement job, Sword Rider's low-level skill, Spirit Venom. After the 6 skills were displayed, there was a burst of discussion. It's a bit tragic. It's already not bad if he can last for 5 minutes with this skill. He doesn't even have a single HP recovery skill. How can he defeat the puppets? Haha, all the skills that scumbags get are trash. The Poison Master's ultimate skill is actually Spirit Venom. This skill is useless against the puppet. Sigh, boring. Let's see if he can last for 5 minutes. When Ingli saw these skills, her eyebrows were knitted together. What kind of lousy skill is this? There's no HP recovery in a long battle, and there's no burst power to end the battle quickly. There are 2 stronger skills, Rain of Arrows and Spirit Venom. One is continuous damage, and the other makes the puppets immune to poison. There's also the most useless trap. It's over. Nameless, your luck is too bad. Even Smoke Seeker was shaking her head. It seemed that she had been overthinking things. Only Lu Chun had nothing to do with his surroundings. He lowered his head and grasped the 3 minutes to learn the skills. He studied the descriptions of each skill. No one understood this principle better than Lu Chun. Every skill had its own value. Just like Tiger Descends the Mountain, Earth-Splitting Chasm, Great Ravine, and Great Ravine Sweep. Until now, Lu Chun had been using some low-level skills. He would not look down on any low-level skills. As long as the right combination was used, even the weakest skill could display unexpected power. Lu Chun did not have a profession until now. In other words, he could be in all profession. Close combat, ranged combat, HP recovery, continuous damage. Lu Chun was an expert in all kinds of combat situations. What he needed to do now was to understand these low-level skills that were looked down upon by others. Chapter 744. Magic Bullet, a long-range attack. Shoots 3 magic bullets with spiritual force. The power is very weak. After hitting, there will be a small explosion effect. Other than that, there are no other special effects. The only thing special about it is that the cooldown time is very fast. It can be recovered once every 5 seconds. Magic Bullet can last for up to 3 minutes. Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. This is very important. Melee Chaotic Dance, a low-level skill. It adds a little defense and causes a small range of physical attacks with a knockback effect. In addition, within 10 seconds after using Melee Chaotic Dance, there will be a 5% lifesteal effect on all attack. This skill has more special effects, but it is not strong by itself. It needs to be combined with other strong skills to be effective. Earthbind Trap binds all enemies in the area for 10 seconds and causes continuous damage of natural elements. The damage is very low, but the enemy's movement speed is greatly reduced. 20 seconds cooldown time, 2 seconds to set up the trap. Sword from All Directions and Rain Arrow are both AoE attack. Rain Arrow's strength lies in its high damage and considerable continuous fire damage, instant cast. But the biggest disadvantage of Rain Arrow is that there is a 3-second delay after the skill is used. When Rain Arrow is used to fire a rain of arrows at the target area, the arrows will only land on the target area after 3 seconds. It is another prediction skill, and it needs 3 seconds to predict. Mind Poison is actually quite strong. It causes continuous poison damage to the enemy and causes a negative status effect, reducing the enemy's attack by 40% for 2 seconds. These are all low-level skills. Naturally, their power cannot be compared to Lu Chen's 3000 Body Flicker Slash, Bestowment Liberation, Void Shattering, 8 Desolation, Universal Annihilation, etc. These skills are quite strong. Lu Chen can't help but praise with a nod of satisfaction. 3 minutes to learn the skills. The preparation time is soon up. The Holy Gate disciple in charge of this place sent over a long sword and a longbow. Both weapons are ordinary dark gold weapons, used for 8 directions sword controlling and rain arrow. 6 human-shaped puppets walked out from behind the door and surrounded Lu Chen. In the class test, only these 6 skills can be used. This also means that Lu Chen's bloodline will be completely disabled. Little Furball can't help him, or else it will be against the rules. The countdown to the test began. 3. Before the match began, Lu Chen had already set up a earthbind trap beneath his feet. This was allowed by the test. Of course, it wasn't as if the puppet couldn't see the trap laid out in front of it, so it naturally wouldn't walk into the trap. 2, 1. Begin. The moment the test began, the 6 puppets simultaneously pounced on Lu Chen. Of the 6 puppets, 2 were long-range and 4 were close combat. Lu Chen's eyes widened as he rushed towards the 2 long-range puppets. Yeah, kill the ranged players first. That's the right idea. However, if that's the case, the trap he set up in advance won't work. It doesn't matter who we attack first. He can't possibly kill the puppet. Even if I use these 6 skills, I can only kill one at most, let alone a piece of trash like him, Huang Xian said disdainfully. At this moment, Lu Chen used a skill. Magic Bullet. While running, the 3 magic bullets flew 3 to 4 meters away from the 2 puppets. Damn. That's a bit ridiculous. Is he fighting against flying mounts? All long-range skills need to be predicted. This guy is clearly a close combat class, so he won't use such skills. This is also my first time using a long-range skill. In any case, I missed by a bit. This guy, he's so crooked. He's really weak. On the battlefield, no one had any movement skills. Lu Chen quickly moved and once again used magic bullets. However, Lu Chen's magic bullets all missed. This guy is really funny. Even if he's stupid, he should have at least hit him once. But in the end, all of them missed. It looks very intense. Those who don't understand the truth would think that this guy is very powerful. In fact, he didn't even hit a fart. Yanling shook her head. This guy. Doesn't he have any fighting potential? If he doesn't know how to use long-range skills, why don't he use close combat? There are idiots every year, but there are a lot of them this year. Huang Xian's face was still full of disdain. I don't know why Master came to watch his match. Now that you've seen it, you can leave. It's simply polluting your eyes. The test went on for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. As long as Lu Chen found that the magic bullets were on cooldown, he would quickly use them. At this time, he had used a total of 32 magic bullets, a total of 96 bullets. However, all 6 puppets were at full health. At this time, Lu Chen found a good position and arrived in front of the 2 long-range puppets. Close combat chaotic dance. Almost 3 minutes after the start of the match, Lu Chen finally hit the puppet. This was the first time in the past test. He finally did some damage. My God, I'm so moved that I'm about to cry. Look, that guy is constantly pushing the long-range shooter towards the trap. He should be trying to push the long-range shooter into the trap. But what's the use? He's a long-range shooter. He should just stand there and attack. Pushing the melee shooter is the correct choice. That's right, the melee shooter's speed reduction is the key. It seems that not only does he not know how to use long-range skills, his fighting strategy is also completely wrong. However, Lu Chen naturally didn't care about the discussions around him. The continuous close combat chaotic dance pushed the 2 long-range shooters into the earthbind trap. At the same time, the 4 close combat puppets chased after him. This time, Lu Chen didn't move. He didn't have any intention of dodging the 4 close combat puppets. Smoke Seeker suddenly frowned. The puppets' attacks weren't too strong, but the average person wouldn't be able to withstand the simultaneous attacks of 6 puppets. This guy actually stood in the trap and didn't move? That trap doesn't have a strong crowd control effect. It only slows him down. Does he want to die by standing there? Looks like he's given up. Let's just give up and start the day-chasing competition. That's the main event. Who wants to watch such a boring thing? Seeing the 4 close combat puppets rushing over, Lu Chun shot dozens of arrows into the sky. Rain of flame arrows. The 4 puppets entered the trap's range. Their movement speed was greatly reduced, and they also suffered elemental damage. However, the damage was too low. Although the slowing effect was obvious, Lu Chun still stood there without moving. In the end, he was quickly surrounded. The 4 close combat puppets had already raised their arms and launched a joint attack on Lu Chun. The 2 long-range shooters were also beside him, ready to attack. It's over. Ingli didn't dare to watch anymore. She actually had a good impression of Lu Chun. This guy didn't put on airs at all. She always had a good time chatting with him. Previously, she had already detected that he had an elemental insulator. This time, he was going to be heavily injured by the puppets. This was something that Ingli didn't want to see. However, at this moment, Lu Chun suddenly roared, "Mind poison!" The puppets were immune to poison attacks, but their damage was still reduced by 40%. Sword of 8 Directions. Lu Chen's longsword suddenly shot out. It transformed into 8 swords and pierced toward the center. At the same time, a bright red color appeared above Lu Chen's head. The rain of arrows was coming. Around them, a large number of magic bullets circled around and suddenly shot toward the trap in groups. The scene was so spectacular that it left everyone dumbfounded. Lu Chun stood in the middle of the trap and smiled slightly. This time I should be able to enter the top 20. Chapter 745. Boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions exploded within the earthbind trap. Swords of 8 directions stabbed back from 8 directions, rain of flame arrows plunged the earthbind trap into a sea of fire, and the most terrifying thing was that 96 magic bullets launched a fierce attack within the trap. The magic bullets only had a very small range of explosive damage, not even an AoE attack. However, because Lu Chun gathered all the puppets together, the magic bullets unleashed a terrifying power. This. Smoke Spirit was dumbfounded, shocked by the scene in front of her that she could not say a word for a long time. Huang Xian, who was on the side, was petrified. The crowd that had been chattering around before could only watch in shock. The look in everyone's eyes could only be described as inconceivable. Ingli originally could not bear to see Nameless make a fool of himself, but the scene in front of her was beyond everyone's expectations. Not long after, all 6 puppets fell to the ground stiffly. 6 puppets, all defeated within 3 minutes, not a single one was spared. Seeker Smoke's eyes widened. What kind of calculation is this, to be able to achieve this level? The several holy mountain elders beside him were also shocked as they looked at the young man in the test field. His HP was still full. My God, to be able to fuse 6 skills to this extent, I can't believe it. Everything seems to be in his calculations. When he first rushed to the ranged puppets, he had already thought of defeating all 6 puppets. No, it should be that before the test began, when he was setting up the trap, he had already thought of how to fight in his mind. That's just too terrifying. Seeker Smoke recalled Lu Chen's battle just now and suddenly exclaimed, in the beginning, his magic bullets did not miss. He took full advantage of the fact that the magic bullets could exist for a long time and deliberately missed. In fact, he had already placed the landing point in the earthbind trap early on. The power of the magic bullets is not great, but he is too patient, accumulating a total of 96 magic bullets. When the duration of the magic bullets was close to the limit, he began to make his move. Melee Flurry has a repelling effect. He pushed the ranged puppets into the trap, and the melee puppets naturally chased after him. At this time, he continuously launched attack skills. I can imagine that even if he is surrounded, with the lifesteal effect of flurry and the massive amount of attacks, he can definitely guarantee his own survival. That's right, there's also the mind poison. Although it doesn't cause any damage, he used this skill at the most crucial point. Damage reduction. It will further increase my chances of survival. Oh my god, I have never seen such an exciting battle. He simply brought out the characteristics of all the skills to the extreme and used them extremely skillfully. Close combat, ranged combat, setting up traps in advance, buffing and dealing with the enemy's abnormal status. Every single one of them is used in the most critical areas. The most important thing is that he carried out his plan almost flawlessly. The positioning of the long-ranged attacks was incomparably precise. The cutting position of the melee fighter, the movement of the dodging pursuit, there was not the slightest bit of unnecessary movement in the entire process. The timing was calculated to an unbelievable degree, and he didn't even receive much damage. Yen-Ling looked at her grandfather in shock. Her grandfather's face was full of excitement. She hadn't seen it for many years. There were tens of millions of disciples in the Holy Mountain, and the number of geniuses who were married to disciples of the Holy Mountain was also innumerable. Even her and senior brother Huang Xian, who had made great progress, had never seen her grandfather so excited. He didn't just admire, he even had some respect, worship. This was a treatment she had never enjoyed before, but this guy was able to receive such high praise from her grandfather. She looked at the young man in the arena again. He was wearing some kind of tattered clothing, and his appearance was average, but his face had an unbearable arrogance. In fact, Lu Chen's face didn't have any ripples, but in Yen-Ling's eyes, he had clearly done such an amazing thing, yet he was so calm. That was unbearable. Lu Chen clearly felt that the surrounding audience had quieted down. This was also good, otherwise it would be too noisy. He looked at the puppets around him. They should all be dead. He didn't know why no one came up to tell him. Cough cough. Does this count as the end of the test? Lu Chen looked around blankly, only to see a frozen face. Hey, at least someone come and tell me the result. Ingli, does this count as the end of the test? Or do I have to wait for 5 minutes before the results are out? Ingli was startled when Lu Chen suddenly called out her name. She suddenly became the focus of the audience. That freak seemed to be very familiar with Ingli. Was he her friend? What was even more outrageous was that even the sect master, a large group of elders, hall masters, Yen-Ling, and Huang Xian were looking at her in surprise. She usually knew these big shots. They didn't know her. She suddenly became very nervous. Brother Nameless, it's already over. You've already defeated the puppets. What else could it be? Senior brother, please announce the result. A Holy Mountain disciple stood outside the testing area in a daze. He had been in charge of the vocational cultivation method testing area for several years, but he had never seen such an exaggerated battle, so he was completely dumbfounded. At this moment, he was called out by Ingli, and he hurriedly ran into the testing area. Standing in front of the young man, the senior brother secretly glanced at Lu Chen's eyes, and it just so happened that Lu Chen was also looking at him. The senior brother trembled. If he met this guy in actual combat, would he have a chance of winning? Thinking of this, the senior brother couldn't help but sweat the size of beans on his forehead. Even if he was a 9-star cultivator and the opponent was only a 7-star cultivator, in front of such an exquisite design, a calm mind, and perfect attack coordination, he seemed to have no chance of winning. Friend, I can't have gotten a 0 in this test, right? Lu Chen asked cautiously. This guy seemed to be a bit absent-minded. Don't tell me something went wrong. What 0? Only now did everyone realize that this battle maniac was actually an elemental insulator. In the elemental test, he should have gotten a 0 just now. Oh, it can't be. Cough cough. You only used 3 minutes and 7 seconds to defeat all 6 puppets. Although everyone saw the test results, when someone personally announced Lu Chen's results, the scene still exploded. 3 minutes and 7 seconds? 6 puppets? I'm afraid I'm not dreaming. Isn't this too strong? I've never heard of anyone being able to reach this level. Even Yan Ling and Huang Xian were able to defeat 2 puppets within 5 minutes. Compared to this monster, the difference between them is not just a little bit. My God, this guy is a bit too strong. After Lu Chen heard the results, he finally let out a sigh of relief. He just happened to see Yen Sun, so he walked over. Senior Sect Master, this time I can enter the top 20, right? Yen Sun, the head of the Heavenly Lake sect, who was always calm and steady, nodded his head like he was counting beads. Of course. Not to mention the top 20, your results in this round, on average, are enough to win this Heavenly Lake conference. Chapter 746. Yan Ling, Huang Xian, and the others were astonished. Just one result and he had directly won the Heavenly Lake conference. This was unprecedented. Facing such an honor, Lu Chen did not have much of a reaction. He thanked them and went to find Ingli. Nameless brother! Ingli was overwhelmed by the favor. The way she looked at Lu Chen changed. She felt that he had suddenly become much more handsome. Ingli, I'm a bit hungry. Is there anything to eat over there? Yes. I have a disciple token. I can get a 30% discount. The results are about to be announced. I'll go buy some for you. What do you want to eat? Then I'll have to trouble you. Bring some meat and vegetables. Buy more. Buy 100 Jin. I have some friends who want to eat. I'll keep some with me. I'll give you some spirit stones when I come back. He was a wild cultivator, so it was necessary to have more spirit stones with him. However, this detail made many core members of the sect remember that this guy was a wild cultivator. He did not belong to a sect. Little brother, I am the great elder of the Void Dust sect. May I ask if you are interested in joining my Void Dust sect? An old man took the initiative to invite Lu Chen. Lu Chen frowned slightly. He was just having a meal and he was being targeted? Hello, I am the sect leader of the Storm sect. I see that little brother's talent is extraordinary. It's just that you are still a wild cultivator. It seems that you haven't met a sect that you like. I wonder if little brother is interested in visiting my Storm sect? I guarantee that you won't be disappointed. Ha, little friend, sect leaderly, Elder Huang. Someone laughed a few times and immediately attracted Lu Chen's attention. Little friend, the more I look at you, the more I like you. You and I are fated. My Heavenly Dipper sect specializes in body technique. Sigh, my sect's disciples are all like you who are not good at cultivating the elements. However, we have specially researched many tools to make up for our lack of elemental potential. I think you might be interested in our Heavenly Dipper sect. All of a sudden, Lu Chen was surrounded by many sect leaders and elders, so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Yen Sun, who was watching from afar, was extremely anxious. He was the host, and the Holy Mountain had a high status. He couldn't just go up and snatch people away like the other leaders. He hurriedly said to his disciples, Quick, let Elder Xian announce the results and let everyone wait for the results. On the other side, Lu Chen was vexed. Why did this group of people suddenly become so enthusiastic? They didn't even care about the disciples he brought with him, and kept squeezing to his side. Don't you see that those disciples are looking at me with eyes full of hatred and enmity? It makes me feel a little embarrassed. At this moment, someone from the sacred mountain shouted loudly that the final results were out. Everyone was invited to wait in front of the Zhuangyuan ranking board. Only then did Lu Chen feel as if he had been pardoned. He hurriedly used this as an excuse to get rid of these sect leaders. Elder Xian of the Holy Mountain was announcing the results in front of the Zhuangyuan rankings. Without any suspense, Nameless won first place with a total of 140 points. Next was Holy Mountain's Smoke Spirit with 110 points. Holy Mountain's Royal Pavilion with 110 points, followed by 100 points, 90 points, 43 RD Place, Snow Forest Sex Jean Fong with 65 points. There are 23 Sacred Mountain disciples on the list. The top 20 will participate in the day chasing competition. The remaining 20 will participate in the day chasing competition. There are 40 people in total. Elder Xian finished his announcement. Lu Chen nodded slightly. The Sacred Mountain's strength was still very strong. Out of the 43 people on the list, the Sacred Mountain had 23 people, which was more than the other sects combined. In the day-chasing competition, the Sacred Mountain had to make sure that the other sects had 20 people. The Sacred Mountain had to cut off 3 people. These 3 people were clearly not the last 3 people. It was clear that the Sacred Mountain's strength was outstanding. At this moment, the others were discussing Lu Chen's results in low voices. 140 points. A puppet is 20 points. How can he have 140 points? That's because of the time bonus. He killed 6 puppets in a little over 3 minutes. Oh, I see. But he doesn't feel much better than the others. Just now we were all stunned by his test. But thinking about it carefully, a cultivator needs to develop in all aspects. Elemental ability is an important ability for a cultivator. Its importance goes without saying. No matter how strong his occupational cultivation technique is, he's just an elemental insulator. That's right. I can't stand his arrogance. Our sect master personally invited him to join the sect, but he actually refused. We gave him face, but he didn't want it. The sect master and elders were also momentarily blinded. Potential depends on overall strength. The elemental test is more important, okay? That's right. I've always felt that there's something wrong with the occupational cultivation technique test. Who would use the cultivation techniques of so many other occupations? In actual combat, everyone uses their own occupational skills. How can this kind of test be compared to the elemental test? That's something that can be used at any time. Yan Ling and Huang Xian glanced at each other. The two of them had boasted before the Heavenly Lake Convention that they would definitely take the top 2 places. In the end, the most valuable first place was actually snatched away by someone else. Junior sister Yan Ling, don't be anxious. In the day-chasing competition, see how I'll deal with him. Huang Xian said unhappily. Just now, he only drew a good skill. In the day-chasing competition, it'll be the time to truly compete with our strength. At that time, he'll know the difference between us. In the Heavenly Lake Convention, the 2 tests are just preparations for the day-chasing competition. The next test is the main event. Yan Ling nodded heavily. She didn't think too much about it. She just couldn't accept it. The list of names had already been confirmed. The competition would begin in an hour and a half. There was still plenty of time. Ingli bought a large amount of food back. However, it wasn't expensive. It was settled with a few spirit stones. Lu Chen wanted to give the food to Rhubarb, Little Green, and Xiao Min. It didn't matter if Little Green and Xiao Min didn't eat. However, Lu Chen was used to eating with them. Rhubarb had to eat. As for Little Furball, that fellow didn't eat cooked food. It would find its own food. There was no need to care about it. Lu Chen called out Rhubarb, Little Green, and Xiao Min. This time, he didn't call them. There were too many people. Ingli, you eat some too, Lu Chen said. Ingli shook her head. She sat across from Lu Chen and supported her chin with her hands as she watched Lu Chen eat. Big brother Nameless, I'm not hungry. You can eat. You really don't want to eat? Hee, our Holy Mountain's guiding disciples can't accept gifts from guests. That includes food. Don't worry about it. I'm really not hungry. Lu Chen looked around. Many of the guiding disciples were actually standing to the side. This was probably the Holy Mountain's rule to entertain guests. Hey, Big Brother Nameless, why haven't you joined a sect yet? With your combat ability, even if you don't have any elemental potential, there should be people fighting over you. Ingli asked curiously. I'm used to being alone. Moreover, there's no sect that I'm interested in. Lu Chen tore a large piece of meat and gave it to Rhubarb. This fellow's strength hadn't increased, but his appetite was getting more and more exaggerated. Oh, I see. Then what do you think of our holy sect? Lu Chen raised his head and smiled at Ingli. Did your sect leader ask you to say that? Ingli stuck out her tongue. Nameless was too smart. She had just asked a few questions, and it was so subtle. Yet, he had already guessed it. Lu Chen wasn't angry. Ingli was just a disciple. Naturally, she had to follow the sect leader's instructions. I'm most likely not going to join a sect. Why? Because I won't stop. After Lu Chen finished speaking, he lowered his head and concentrated on eating. Chapter 747. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Lu Chen sat on a bench in the pavilion to rest, casually chatting with Ingli. Lu Chen suddenly asked, "How does the sacred mountain treat the people at the foot of the mountain?" People? Oh, you're talking about those ordinary people. The sacred mountain has always focused on long-term development. They provide us with food, and there are also people who help us grow ordinary herbs. In return, we guarantee that they will not be attacked by demons. Lu Chen frowned slightly. I also noticed that the people around you are living quite well, much better than some sections. Ingli nodded. Some sects do not treat the people as humans. In the immortal cultivation world, basically no one cares about this. People only care about strength, so the immortal cultivation world is actually very chaotic. As long as they don't mess around in the immortal cultivation world, most sects will still accept them. Lu Chen roughly guessed that this was the case. Otherwise, the Green Dragon sect would not have received an invitation. Perhaps this was also the reason why he was unwilling to join a sect. Although he was not a saint, he was far from being selfless. However, when he saw those lowly people being wantonly slaughtered, he still could not stand it. Sometimes these people would remind him of his compatriots on Earth or his past self. Oh right, Ingli, do you know where to buy cash withdrawal scrolls? Lu Chen changed to a less serious question. This is a bit hard to say. Cash withdrawal scrolls are the most precious items in the immortal cultivation world, so most shops do not sell them. Only a few people who are in urgent need of money will sell some. So if you want to buy one, it all depends on luck. Then other than the sects, is there no other place to buy cash withdrawal scrolls? But where did those sects get them from? Ingli explained, this is actually very simple. The cash withdrawal scrolls are used to strengthen the physical body or increase spiritual power. How to strengthen the physical body? Of course, it is strengthened with spiritual power. Both of these are inseparable from spiritual power. Lu Chen listened seriously. This matter was related to his development. So, cash withdrawal scrolls are essentially a small number of super experts among talisman array masters who cultivate both talisman arrays and talisman array masters. They seal a huge amount of spiritual power in a miniature talisman array paper. Currently, there are only a few forces that have such super experts. Almost all of these forces, without exception, have established countries. Country? Yes, we are in the Eastern Peak Nation. The Eastern Peak Nation is mainly made up of humans, elves, dwarves, and 9 other races. Here, we are mainly made up of humans. The strength of these countries is very terrifying. In fact, it's very simple. They have super experts who can make cash extraction scrolls. It's hard not to be strong. Lu Chen nodded. This was similar to having a money printing machine at home. Aren't those people's attributes the highest? Lu Chen asked curiously. That's not necessarily the case. Making a cash extraction scroll is very time-consuming and laborious. Moreover, it requires a large amount of pure spiritual energy. This can only be done by manpower mining the mineral veins, so it's not that simple to make a cash extraction scroll. In addition, everyone has an upper limit to their abilities, which is the fighting soul attribute. Of course, the royal family's strength is still very terrifying. There's no doubt about that. It's just that it's not as exaggerated as you say. Lu Chen pondered. So the strongest in the fifth heaven were the royal families. This was a little different from the immortal cultivation world that he had previously understood. The royal families here were not living off women. After many years of accumulation, their strength was unimaginable. Then where is the Tong Tian Tower here? It's at the top of the Heaven Range mountain. Ingli said, there are magical beast nests there. The magical beasts can't be killed. Even the royal families have to go up the mountain in groups. Lu Chen frowned. Even the royal families have to go up the mountain in groups? If that's the case, his strength might not be able to reach the sixth heaven. To pass through the magical beast nests, an hour of soul-body unification might not even be enough. In other words, it would be best for him to increase the strength of his body to a high enough level before going to the Tong Tian Tower. Forget it. This was a game that could lead to death. It was better to play it for a while. Oh, one more question. Ingli, do you know how to return to your own world? Ah? You don't even know this? Doesn't your family know? Or is there no one in your original force at the fifth heaven? Ingli finally could not help but ask in shock. Family? Lu Yi was still cultivating at the fourth heaven. As for the original force, those fellows on Earth had only just come into contact with the fourth heaven. It would be strange if they knew. On the other hand, those so-called guides might be Earthlings. However, they were always mysterious. Other than guiding Earthlings in their cultivation, they did not seem to be willing to reveal any more information. Li Muhua said that their identities could not be confirmed even now. Therefore, Lu Chen could only rely on himself to figure everything out. This, no one told me. Ingli shook her head. What kind of background does your family have? You're already at the fifth heaven, yet they're not worried about letting you go on an adventure alone and not telling you anything. Actually, every country has many teleportation points. You can return to your own world by spending spirit stones. Doesn't that mean I can also go to other people's worlds? Theoretically, you can. However, you must first know the coordinates of that world. Sit coordinates? Lu Chen was a little flustered. In fact, he did not know the coordinates of Earth. Did this mean that he was going to be lost in the vast sea of stars? Oh, you don't have to worry. Everyone has the coordinates of their own world. However, you have to be careful. If they are not especially trustworthy friends, or if you have absolute confidence in controlling them, do not bring them to your world. Otherwise, you should know the consequences. Of course, Lu Chen knew how serious the consequences would be, especially in a remote, low-level martial arts world like Earth. A single expert could turn Earth upside down. Speaking of which, when the Flame Demon and Cowherd said that they would bring him to the demon world, Lu Chen did not think much of it. However, he now understood that they said that because they completely trusted him. As expected, a fifth heaven could return to reality from the Jiutian. That meant that if Lu Yi really liked Beishui Gufei, it was indeed possible. After chatting with Ingli for a while, Lu Chen gained a lot. He solved a few problems that had been troubling him. He also gained a better understanding of the fifth heaven. At this moment, a man and a woman walked over from the opposite side. Both of them were extremely beautiful. Senior brother Huang Xian, junior sister Yan Ling. When Ingli saw the two of them, she hurriedly stood up and greeted them respectfully. The two of them did not look at Ingli. Instead, they walked directly in front of Lu Chen. Huang Xian glanced at Lu Chen indifferently. His eyes were filled with disdain. However, he said, "Nameless, congratulations on getting first place." Lu Chen frowned slightly. This person's words were sour. "Thank you," Lu Chen casually replied. Seeing Lu Chen's disrespectful attitude, Huang Xian's face completely fell. However, Nameless, don't think that you will definitely win the day-chasing competition. I will let you know the difference between you and me in the day-chasing competition. The day-chasing competition is the true test of a person's overall strength. Junior sister and I will make it so that you won't even be able to touch the day-chasing beast. Yanling glared at Lu Chun and fiercely said, I don't believe that you are stronger than me. Lu Chun curled his lip. Oh, then, you guys can do it. As he spoke, Lu Chun even clenched his fist and made a cheering gesture. Ingli, who was at the side, almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This guy, facing the opponent's provocation, actually told them to do it. Chapter 748. When Huang Xian and Yan Ling heard Lu Chen's words, they forcefully swallowed back the lines they had thought of. You! Huang Xian almost choked to death. He was so angry that his face turned red, but he didn't know what to say. They were cheering for him. How could he refute? All right, don't be arrogant. We'll see. On the way back, Yan Ling angrily said to her senior brother Huang Xian, that nameless guy is just a scoundrel. Huang Xian was full of anger. He's not even as good as a scoundrel. He didn't play by the rules. I didn't know how to refute him. His looks are average, but he's especially annoying. Yan Ling angrily said. He actually told me to cheer for him. He's clearly looking down on us. He thinks that we're not his match. Junior sister, don't worry. I'll talk to my senior and junior brothers. When the time comes, we'll go against him together. Ah, senior brother, if we go against him, isn't that bad? He didn't expect Yan Ling to oppose this idea. I want to win against that guy fair and square. Besides, if my grandfather finds out, he definitely won't let us off easily. Junior sister, who does he think he is? Master just made a mistake. Could it be that he'll punish us for him? You don't have to worry about this. When the time comes, you can compete normally. I just want to teach that arrogant bastard a lesson. Huang Xian and Yan Ling walked away. Ingli's expression was a bit unnatural. On one side was her senior and junior sister. On the other side was her big brother Nameless. Both sides obviously didn't get along. Her situation was indeed a bit awkward. At this moment, Lu Chun took the initiative to speak. Ingli, you don't have to accompany me in a bit. Otherwise, they might make things difficult for you in the future. Ingli looked at Lu Chun in surprise. Nameless was actually thinking for her. Since the end of the professional cultivation method test, many senior and junior sisters had asked her about her big brother Nameless. Many gorgeously dressed beauties kept throwing flirtatious glances at him. However, her big brother Nameless didn't seem to be interested in women. He didn't even look at them. She didn't expect her big brother Nameless to have such a meticulous side. He was able to observe such minute details. He seems to treat me differently. Brother Nameless, I'll go with you. Ingli seemed to have made a huge decision as she said, I'm fulfilling my duty as a guide, and no one can say anything about me. As for you, I'm afraid that senior brothers and the others will target you. Lu Chun smiled. So be it. It's just a competition of 40 people. It's not like it's worth 4 million. Ingli was shocked. Judging from Brother Nameless' words, it sounded like he had fought 4 million people before. In fact, what Lu Chun said was already a conservative figure. Along the way, he had done a lot of things that cost millions. Otherwise, how could he set the rules for the 3rd layer of heaven and 4th layer of heaven? There were billions of people in those 2 heavens. Ingli was also a girl with a temper. She stood firmly on Lu Chen's side, which made Lu Chen very pleased. Lu Chen smiled. As expected of my nameless friend. Friend? Ingli lowered her head embarrassedly. I'm a little weak. Ha 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 ha, I don't make friends based on their strength. The most important thing is that they are like-minded. Let's go, it's starting over there. Watch me catch that sun-chasing beast. The last event took up a huge area. While everyone was resting, the disciples of the Sacred Gate cleared all the facilities in the Heavenly Lake Plaza. The entire Heavenly Lake Plaza only had the sun-chasing competition. It was a circular track with a mountain in the center. The Heavenly Lake was on top of the mountain, and one could imagine how long the track was from the scale of the Heavenly Lake. Although everyone is familiar with it, I still have to announce the rules. Elder Xian personally said to the 40 contestants. The track is 10,000 meters long and 200 meters wide. There are fences at the edge. As you can see, going out of the fences is against the rules. I have to emphasize that no matter if you go out by yourself or if you are beaten out, you will be eliminated immediately. When the competition starts, I will release this sun-chasing beast. Elder Xian lifted the iron cage in his hand. Lu Chun saw a small golden creature in the cage. This creature was about the size of a fist. Its body was slender like a large insect, and there were 8 pairs of thin transparent wings on its back. For such a small creature to have 8 pairs of wings, its speed was probably not something the insects on Earth could compare to. After the sun-chasing beast is captured, it will release a small amount of spiritual energy explosion to disrupt the spirit energy of the person who captured it. It will also unleash its potential, and its power is enough to carry a person away. It will only surrender after 1 minute of being captured. At that time, it will be considered a successful capture. In this competition, the disciples of the Sacred Mountain will not be ranked. If they manage to capture the sun-chasing beast, they will not occupy the quota. They will only take the top 3 from the other sections. The winner will be given the opportunity to bathe in the Heavenly Lake. Of course, if they perform well, they will naturally be favored by the disciples of the opposite sex, greatly increasing the chances of them becoming immortal companions. At this point, the other disciples were extremely excited. As long as I get into the top 3, I can ask Master to come to the Sacred Mountain to propose marriage to my sweetheart. Mimi, wait for me. This time, even if I have to risk my life, I will perform well. I must get into the top 3. Brother Huang Xian, you must see me. Lu Chun frowned. This group of people, were they so desperate just to find an immortal companion? Was he the only one who wanted to bathe in the Heavenly Lake? Lonely, too lonely. There is no limit to the number of laps in the sun-chasing beast. The sun-chasing beast will instinctively run around the track. We have also set up a formation, so it can only run clockwise. In addition, there is the Heavenly Lake domain. Every minute, the cultivation techniques of 3 occupations and 3 elemental attacks will be randomly banned. Alright, everyone, get ready. The competition is about to start. Lu Chun looked around. Many people had drawn their weapons. It seemed that the competition would be very intense. Unintentionally, Lu Chun saw that many disciples of the Sacred Mountain were secretly observing him. This group of people were not looking at others, but at him? It seemed that it would be fun later. Elder Xian pressed the door bolt of the iron cage with one hand. Everyone was ready to start running at any time. Get ready. As soon as Elder Xian spoke, everyone became nervous. Ingli clasped her hands in front of her chest. Her breathing was a little hurried. Brother Nameless, do your best. Yen Sun narrowed her eyes slightly. If I'm not wrong, there should be many people targeting Nameless. I wonder if that young man can withstand such pressure. At this moment, Elder Xian lifted the door bolt of the iron cage with one hand. In an instant, a golden light flashed and rushed forward. Start. Following Elder Xian's command, 40 top geniuses used their movement technique. Only shadows were left on the field, and a disciple of the Sacred Mountain with a face full of blood. This guy covered his nose, and his face was full of shock and confusion. Oh Hua, what's wrong with you? Elder Xian looked at this disciple in surprise. Elder Xian, someone hit me just now. The disciple complained in grief. Nameless, he hit me at the start. The audience around the starting line was silent. That guy. He hit me at the starting line. This guy is too sinister. Chapter 749. Generally speaking, the Sun Chaser competition would only start when competing for the Sun Chaser beast. However, Lu Chun had taken the initiative to attack a holy mountain disciple. Many people found this action inconceivable. Isn't he afraid of being targeted by others? A sect elder shook his head. Attacking at the starting line will make him enemies too early. Moreover, he could have chosen anyone, but he chose a holy mountain disciple. Doesn't he know that we holy mountain disciples have an absolute advantage in the Sun Chaser competition? Sect Master Bai Hin of the Heavenly Dipper sect frowned. Although the Sun Chaser competition is based on each person and everyone is an opponent, this kid is too naive. There are 20 holy mountain disciples, half of the total number. If he attacked during the competition for the Sun Chaser beast, it would be excusable, but attacking at the start will definitely draw the ire of the holy mountain disciples. This kid did indeed make our eyes shine during the cultivation method test, but he seems to be too young and impetuous. He doesn't know that showing off his ability will often make him a target. Haven't many geniuses been defeated because they showed off too much? That's right. Being excellent in the cultivation method test doesn't mean that his combat strength is far stronger than others. His final score is only 20 to 30 points higher than Misty Spirit and Huang Xian's. Opposing the Holy Mountain disciples at the start of the competition, he's very likely to be eliminated this time. Mistseeker frowned slightly. This young man usually looked aloof from worldly affairs, but she didn't expect him to be so decisive and fierce when he attacked. He was simply a completely different person from his usual gentle image. Sect Master, don't you think this Nameless is a bit too impatient? Elder Xian walked over. He knew that his senior brother thought highly of this young man, but the scene just now seemed to be a little disappointing. It looks like his sneak attack succeeded, but in fact, stopping a holy mountain disciple at the bottom of the rankings isn't a big deal. In this kind of free-for-all competition, we can't even be sure whether Oh Hua will be a threat to us. Not only is his attack useless, but he'll also make enemies too early and expose himself. Mistseeker said indifferently, Junior Brother Xian, in the past Sun Chaser competitions, if we were to calculate the ranking of our Holy Mountain disciples, wouldn't the first 2 places always go to our Holy Mountain disciples? Xian Zhang nodded without much thought. Indeed. If we were to calculate the ranking of the disciples of the Holy Mountain, unless the other sects produced extremely outstanding talents, we would have taken the top 5. Seeking Smoke said, It is indeed easier for us to recruit the top talents of the 4th heaven. However, it is still understandable if they take the top 2 or even the top 3. However, it is the same every time. Furthermore, they always take the top 5. This can only mean one thing. In the Sun Chaser competition, even if they compete individually, the disciples of the Sacred Mountain will still help each other. This is not a rare thing. Elder Xian said, That's right. After all, we're all from the same sect. Furthermore, we're not included in the rankings, so no one will say anything. Seeking Miss smiled faintly. If that's the case, then that kid must be fighting for the first place since he attacked the disciples of the Holy Mountain. Competing for first place with us Sacred Mountain disciples? Yes. I've met a few geniuses from big sects, and without exception, they all have one thing in common. It was fine if he didn't do it, but if he did, he would definitely do it to the extreme. This kid seems to have this kind of temperament. In this kind of person's heart, it's not that he wants to compete with others, but rather that he wants to surpass himself again and again. In the long run, his heart can no longer tolerate the word second place. Moreover, I saw Huang Xian and Yan Ling looking for that kid before. Perhaps he already knew that the disciples of the Sacred Mountain would target him. In that case, making the first move to gain the upper hand is not a lack of consideration, but a preemptive strike. Elder Xian shook his head. Senior brother, I think you value this kid too much. Even your words are on his side. In my opinion, he is still too reckless. Junior brother, if you don't believe me, how about we make a bet? Although one of the two old men was the sect master and the other was an elder, they were both direct disciples of the previous sect master. After being together for so many years, their stubborn tempers had risen. Alright, what are we betting on? Let's make a bet. Naturally, it's just for the sake of it. How about 2100-point cash withdrawal scrolls? Cash withdrawal scrolls were precious. Even the sect master and elder had to exchange for them with sect contributions. This casual bet was already worth 200,000 spirit stones. Alright, I'll bet with you. Lu Chen did not know that someone had specially opened a bet for him. He had already dealt with a sacred mountain disciple at the beginning. He clearly knew that others were targeting him, so why wait for others to make the first move? Wouldn't that be stupid? However, his actions immediately gave the sacred mountain disciples a reason to besiege him. Now, he was surrounded by sacred mountain disciples. Nameless, you actually launched a sneak attack. Huang Xian was right beside him. The two of them were side by side as they chased after the Sun Beast. Fighting was one thing, but at this time, the most important task was still to chase after the Sun Beast. Sneak attack? Do I need to make an appointment to fight you? Lu Chen sneered. The Sun Beast was very fast, but these people were not ordinary people. The attributes of 8-star and 9-star cultivators had long surpassed the level of ordinary people. After using some movement speed increasing skills, they could basically maintain the distance between them and the Sun Beast and not be pulled apart. Lu Chen secretly calculated in his mind. These people were currently increasing their movement speed, so they would definitely use their movement speed skills at the end of the fight for the Sun Beast. However, no one wanted to take the lead, so for the time being, they would not be left behind. The current calm was definitely only temporary. In a moment, a fierce fight would definitely erupt. Lu Chen was currently using Flash Shot. He did not plan on using unlimited movement skills. Using the 6 transformations of demons and gods in a single Sun Beast competition? It was a bit like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. At this time, someone outside the formation shouted, "In the first minute, archers, golden Buddhas, and elementalist skills are prohibited. Ice, wind, and rock elements are prohibited." If the previous calm was due to the lack of an opportunity to make a move, then now was that opportunity. This was because some people were using their profession's movement speed increasing skills. Since it was suddenly prohibited, they naturally had to give it a try. Demonic phantom steps. An archer rushed out first. He was quite miserable. Previously, he had used wind shadow steps, which was a skill that used the wind element to increase his movement speed. Now that his profession's skills were prohibited, even the wind element was prohibited. If he did not give it a try, then he would be left far behind. Demonic phantom steps was not a skill exclusive to archers. He did not have many movement skills like this, so he had to give it a try. Golden lotus steps. Lion tiger roar. A golden Buddha fiercely rushed forward. At the same time, his body emitted a golden light, causing everyone around him to retreat. In the blink of an eye, 4 or 5 people had already made a move. Chapter 750. Several people quickly approached the sun-chasing beast. The sun-chasing beast sensed the danger behind it and suddenly increased its speed. Raging flames, burning river. A holy mountain disciple behind quickly acted, and a sea of fire quickly ignited in front of these people. The sea of fire directly blocked the entire track. It was 100 meters wide, and to cross this sea of fire, they had to sprint 100 meters. This was the time for the 8 immortals to cross the sea and show their abilities. The people in front of them had their skills banned, so they could only use their movement skills to force their way through the sea of fire. They all suffered different degrees of burns. The people behind them chased closely. Some used movement skills to cross the sea of fire, while others held their breath and maintained their distance. Fire Phoenix. A beast tamer summoned his battle pet and opened a path for himself. Imperial Sword Astral Form. Someone directly activated his astral form and became one with his sword, shooting out from above the sea of fire. Lu Chen was about to cross the sea of fire when a cold light suddenly shot out from behind him. You stay here. Sacred Sword Judgment. Lu Chen looked back and saw a golden broadsword smashing towards him. It was extremely fast, and the air around the sword was actually ignited. The sword's tail was even dragging a trail of fire. Lu Chen was about to dodge when the ground under his feet suddenly became muddy. Want to run? Devouring Devil Swamp Prison. Another holy mountain disciple attacked. Lu Chen looked at his feet. At this moment it had become a swamp. As long as he used his strength, he would only sink deeper and deeper. Earth Rock Beast. A large amount of magma suddenly burst out from the swamp, pouncing towards Lu Chen like a giant beast. It should be noted that the rock element was banned just now, which was a branch of the earth element. However, the other party was using magma, which was considered a fire element. Naturally, it would not be banned. Huang Xian, who was beside him, sneered, "Going against our holy mountain, this is your fate. Still want to snatch the sun-chasing beast? Dream on. Let my junior brother take good care of you. Sorry, I'll go catch the sun-chasing beast first." Huang Xian and Yan Ling had already used their movement skills and flashed past Lu Chen, chasing after the people in front of them. Facing the siege of 3 people at the same time, Lu Chen coldly snorted, "You want to stop me with just 3 people? What are you thinking?" Spiritual Space Cannon. 3 cannons. He did not dodge at all. The 3 cannonballs blasted directly at the 3 holy mountain disciples who attacked him. So, you are a spiritual energy explosion expert. No wonder he was so arrogant. Little psionic energy cannon. Psionic explosion experts were not considered very outstanding within the 4th celestial layer. After all, among the various attributes of the War Soul, spiritual energy was generally the lowest attribute, and there was a huge gap between it and the 3rd celestial layer. However, it was completely different in the 5th layer of heavens. In order to increase a cultivator's level, the only standard was spiritual energy. In other words, from the 5th layer onwards, spiritual energy had become the most important attribute. Without soul-body fusion, the psionic explosion specialist, who used spiritual energy as an attack, dealt damage in an instant. The spiritual energy space cannon's main characteristic was that it had no trajectory. The 3 of them knew the power of the spiritual energy space cannon, so they quickly used their movement techniques to dodge. Triple Gate. Lu Chen was not stingy with his skills. He immediately used Triple Door, allowing the spiritual energy cannon to change direction while moving. 3 gates and 3 spiritual energy cannons hit the target instantly. Boom! Boom! At the same time, Lu Chen roared, "Ghostly shadows, descend!" 300 Lu Chen suddenly appeared in the arena. Using Descend, Lu Chen dodged the opponent's attack and chased to the front again. This guy, the 3 of them couldn't hold him back, and he killed them instead? Elder Xian's eyes widened. The cooperation of the Holy Mountain disciples just now really shocked him. The 3 attacks were launched almost at the same time, and they were well coordinated. One was a control skill, and the other 2 were offensive skills. Even if Nameless could dodge, the 3 of them would definitely have other follow-up moves to greet him. No matter whether Nameless could get rid of the 3 of them, the final result would be that he would be left far behind by the rest of the team. In the end, this guy easily resolved the crisis. He used Triple Door and long-range spiritual energy cannons to defeat the 3 of them. At the same time, he used the most suitable displacement skill to dodge and catch up with the rest of the team. The fight for the sun-chasing beast in front was exciting, but Lu Chen's battle also attracted the attention of many people. This guy is so strong. 3 9-star cultivators working together can't hold him down? How much combat experience does he have? In the face of sudden changes, he can make the most appropriate response in the first place. His attacks are fast, accurate, and ruthless. He seriously injured the 3 of them so that they can no longer hold him back. The 3 disciples of the Holy Mountain are already seriously injured. They probably won't be able to compete. It's not the first time I've seen someone use triple door, but it's the first time I've seen a teleportation spiritual energy cannon. His spiritual energy cannon has a displacement effect, and its trajectory is difficult to predict. With the triple door changing direction, it's impossible to dodge. Lu Chen was already at the front of the chase. At this time, someone seemed to have caught the sun-chasing beast, but the beast had not been tamed yet. His whole body was carried by the sun-chasing beast, flying irregularly in the air. Behind him, various skills were thrown. Within a few seconds, that person was hit and fell from the air. The sun-chasing beast regained its freedom and rushed forward desperately. At this time, Lu Chen noticed that almost all the disciples around him were disciples of the Holy Mountain. It seemed that in the chase just now, they had thought of ways to block the disciples of the other sects behind them. If this continued, the next time the sun-chasing beast was caught, the first place would be in the bag of the Holy Mountain. At this time, a beautiful figure suddenly emerged from among the disciples of the Holy Mountain. Yan Ling, 7 stars trapping beast. Her movement technique was somewhat different from the average person's. It was completely different from Lu Chen's 7 stars step. Her footwork coincided with the position of the Big Dipper. After stepping on the position of the 7 stars around the sun-chasing beast, the sun-chasing beast's speed suddenly dropped, but she could jump at will from the position of the 7 stars. Lu Chen frowned slightly. This movement technique was a bit strong. It could affect the opponent's speed. At the same time, when the 7 stars formation was set up, it upgraded from a displacement skill to a teleportation skill. In actual combat, once the position of the Big Dipper was set up, she would become abnormally agile. Sure enough, under the 7 stars trapping beast, Yan Ling caught the sun-chasing beast. Caught it? Yan Ling said excitedly. It's Yan Ling. Now she's being escorted by the disciples of the Holy Mountain. It looks like there's no doubt that she'll take first place. Fortunately, the disciples of the Holy Mountain are not counted in the rankings. The top 5 are theirs, so there's no need to fight for it. The key is the ranking after the 5th. No, that nameless is still in the front line. It's useless. Didn't you see the disciples of the Holy Mountain greeting him? If he doesn't withdraw and obediently stay in the second group, he probably won't even have a chance to catch the sun-chasing beast. The surrounding disciples of the Holy Mountain were naturally not polite to Lu Chen. However, Lu Chen's combat experience was too rich. He had experienced countless life and death battles in the past. Combat experience had been integrated into his blood. Even if he was now using his original body, which used to only clean the floor, he was now more and more used to fighting with his original body. After taking care of another 3 or 4 disciples of the Holy Mountain, Lu Chen saw Yan Ling in front of him who had caught the sun-chasing beast. He narrowed his eyes slightly. 1 minute. He only needed 1 minute to snatch the sun-chasing beast from Yan Ling. Chapter 751. The surrounding skills once again covered the sky and covered the earth. You want to pass? In your dreams. Huang Xian shouted angrily, Dragon Hao Jiutian. Huang Xian actually used Dragon Hao Jiutian. Is he trying to kill Nameless? This is a bit exaggerated. There's no other way. So many people can't hold that guy back. Without Dragon Hao Jiutian, I'm afraid they really can't stop him. Huang Xian's longsword turned into a giant dragon phantom. The giant dragon roared, and the surrounding people felt like their eardrums were about to shatter. This skill was actually a sound attack. But sound attacks were also spiritual energy vibrations. Lu Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. His body couldn't fully display the effects of spiritual energy, but Huang Xian was only a 9-star cultivator. Without soul and body as one, the power of this move wasn't necessarily strong. Since it was a spiritual energy fluctuation, he could miss. Heaven's Eye. Lu Chen opened his Heaven's Eye. He immediately discovered that when the giant dragon roared, it spewed out a huge amount of spiritual energy. He didn't expect this move's spiritual energy fluctuation to be so fierce. But after finding the spiritual energy fluctuation, even if he didn't use spiritual energy to resist, Lu Chen had other ways to dodge. 9 void steps. A miniature vortex appeared under Lu Chen's feet. The vortex transmitted a huge gravitational force, causing Dragon Howl Jiutian to deviate. Ghost Shadow Layer a descent. Lu Chen directly retreated to the back of the team, avoiding Dragon Howl Jiutian's attack. But in the next second, he descended again, returning to the front of the team. Night Flash. With a long-distance displacement, Lu Chen had already rushed to Yanling's side. What kind of displacement technique is that? Creating a void under his feet? Elder Xian's eyes widened. Besides 9 void steps, how many displacement techniques does he have? He caught up to Yanling. He actually managed to rush out under the heavy encirclement? He has a sense of propriety. It's simply hard to figure out, but to snatch the sun-chasing beast from Yanling's hands isn't easy. Yanling's strength is generally considered to be stronger than Huang Xian. Smoke Spirit had already controlled the chasing sun beast for dozens of seconds. There was not much time left. At this time, every second of the battle was a race against time. Many people had already held their breaths, not daring to make a sound. Ingli clasped her hands in front of her chest. She had been frozen in place for a few minutes. At this point, she had completely forgotten that she was a disciple of the sacred mountain. All she could see now was that calm figure in the arena. There was still someone who could catch up with the sun-chasing beast while being surrounded by the disciples of the holy mountain? What splendid attire, what handsomeness! Everything paled in comparison to that person's brilliant and unrestrained battle. No wonder people always say that serious men are the most handsome. Nameless Bro's serious look really made people's hearts pound. Yanling looked at the figure that suddenly appeared beside her in disbelief. Senior brother Huang Xian and the others actually failed to deal with this fellow? He actually caught up. However, Smoke Spirit was not without strength. Now was the time to prove herself. Nameless, don't be complacent. First place is mine. No one can take it away from me. Lu Chen was very depressed. He was clearly not complacent. What was there to be proud of about this kind of basic operation? Ahem, I advise you to obediently hand over the sun-chasing beast. Otherwise, you'll lose face later. Nameless was actually chatting with Yanling? Ingli almost collapsed. Big brother, what time is it now? Why are you still chatting? How could Yanling fall for Lu Chen's trick? While moving at high speed, Yanling glared at Lu Chen. I think you should worry about yourself. 7 stars trapping beast. In an instant, Yanling had already jumped to another position, leaving Lu Chen far behind. Lu Chen shook his head. Why did this girl not listen to him? Sigh, it was hard to be a good person. 7 stars chasing moon. After saying that, Lu Chen caught up with Yanling in a flash. 7 stars chasing moon also had the 2 words 7 stars. Although it was much worse than 7 stars trapping beast, it also had 7 segments of displacement. Impossible, your 7 stars chasing moon can't catch up with me. You should be affected by me. Yanling looked at Nameless, who had appeared beside her in shock. Under normal circumstances, 7 stars chasing moon would definitely be greatly affected by its upgraded version. However, The problem was that if Lu Chen used the chaos spiritual pill, then no one would be able to suppress him. Now was not the time to explain. Yanling quickly distanced herself from Lu Chen and jumped to another point. Still running. Triple door. I'm all ears. Triple door was really useful. Now that she was all ears, Yanling was sucked into the triple door by a strong suction force from afar and was teleported in front of Lu Chen. When she turned around and saw that man again, Yanling almost broke down. What the hell? Why didn't this guy move and she came back? You! Forced to get close to him for 2 seconds, Yanling was temporarily unable to jump between the 7 stars. Shatter. Void. Lu Chen raised his hand. Hearing this name, everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. There were still very few people in the 5th heaven who could shatter the void, but there were many who had heard of it. 100 times the attack. The sun-chasing beast would disrupt the captor's spiritual energy control. Therefore, unless Yanling gave up on the sun-chasing beast and used a skill, Yanling would be seriously injured even if she didn't die. Still not letting go? Lu Chen stared at Yanling. This woman was too stubborn. He didn't intend to seriously injure her. As long as she let go of the sun-chasing beast, he would take first place and it would be over. In the end, this woman would rather be beaten than let go. How powerful can your spiritual blast be in close combat? As long as I take this punch, time will be up. Yanling stared at Lu Chen fiercely. Take this punch? Even if her attributes weren't high, she would definitely be seriously injured after taking this punch. Lu Chen frowned and threw a punch. Yanling closed her eyes tightly. With a loud bang, a huge pit was formed on the ground. Everyone stared at the field with their eyes wide open. However, Lu Chen missed at such a close distance. His fist passed by Yanling's ear, and the huge remaining force directly created a deep pit in the road in front of them. At this moment, someone outside the field shouted, "Sword manipulation, shadow assassin, spiritual master's skills are ineffective. Fire, wood, and water elements are ineffective." Yanling still didn't understand why she was unharmed. When she suddenly heard this, her heart tightened. She was a water elemental shadow assassin. This time, she directly banned her profession and elements. Previously, in order to fight for the sun-chasing beast, she had already used a few non-profession displacement skills, especially the 7-star trapping beast. In the end, she couldn't use any displacement skills now. At this moment, there was too much information that she needed to deal with. In a moment of panic, she didn't even know how to cross the deep pit in front of her. In a panic, she directly stepped on air. At the crucial moment, a strong hand hugged her slender waist. This was originally a very romantic scene. Who knew what would happen in the future? However, that hand was a little naughty. With a little bit of force, an unbearable itch came over her. Puff Yanling was the most ticklish. Being scratched like this made her feel like thousands of ants were crawling all over her body. She really couldn't bear it and let go. A golden shadow instantly emerged from her hand. Immediately after, the sun-chasing beast was caught by someone. "Sorry, first place is mine. Go." Lu Chen smiled slightly. With a little force, he directly threw Yanling out of the running range. Looking at her beautiful granddaughter being thrown out by that kid, Yen Sun couldn't help but frown and say faintly, "This kid must be single." Chapter 752. Lu Chen is still single now, and he is indeed relying on his own ability. Without hesitation, Lu Chen threw away Smoke Spirit, who was known as the #1 beauty of the Holy Mountain, and grabbed the chasing sun beast. This little thing became obedient as soon as it touched his hand. It couldn't be helped. Lu Chen's chaos spiritual energy wasn't something it could shake. However, after discovering that it couldn't affect Lu Chen's spiritual energy, the little thing began to go crazy. Although it was only the size of a fist, its strength wasn't small. It carried Lu Chen and soared into the sky. Not good, the chasing sun beast went crazy. Strange, why did it go crazy as soon as it touched my hand? Lu Chen was carried by the chasing sun beast, shuttling through the air at an irregular speed. F***ck, this thing is so strong? Lu Chen was also shocked. Little guy, if you continue to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. Lu Chen had just finished speaking when the chasing sun beast became even crazier. It charged forward with the speed of a rapid movement skill. Lu Chen only felt wind in his ears, and he couldn't control his body. Quick, take him down. We can't let him get first place. Huang Xian glanced at his junior sister who was thrown out, and his eyes were red. His junior sister was the apple of the Holy Mountain's eye since she was young. Someone actually dared to treat her like this. This was intolerable. Kill him at all costs. However, the chasing sun beast's trajectory had a characteristic, and that was that it had no pattern. It would suddenly stop in the middle of a rapid movement, and then change direction. It was impossible to predict its position in advance. It was quite difficult to hit a crazy chasing sun beast. The best way at present was to use a group attack, and a large group attack often required a certain amount of time to accumulate power. This way, it would instead increase the distance between Lu Chen and them. Lu Chen saw that the people behind him were getting further and further away from him. He suddenly realized that if the chasing sun beast could continue to go crazy, as long as he wasn't thrown out, he wouldn't even need to make a move to take first place. The chasing sun beast can't affect my spiritual energy, so it's impossible to throw me off. I'm just afraid that this little thing will stop by itself. If that happens, I still have to deal with these holy mountain disciples. Thinking of this, Lu Chen immediately changed his tactic. Little guy, fly quickly. Now, he was still complaining that the chasing sun beast was too slow. Come on. Another skill is coming from behind. Fly up. To the left. To the right. Dive. Lu Chen's hands didn't seem to be holding a monster, but a steering wheel instead. It had entered a frenzied state from the very first second the sun-chasing beast entered. This was the first time such a situation had occurred in the sun-chasing beast for so many years. In the end, it did not take long for the sun-chasing beast to carry Lu Chen and fly away, leaving the people behind them behind by 300 to 400 meters. At this distance, normal skills wouldn't be able to hit him. F***ck, what's going on? Is the sun-chasing beast his pet? Why are you so obedient? Why is this chasing sun beast so abnormal? In the past, it would only go berserk in the last few seconds. Why did it go berserk the moment it got into his hands? How are we going to catch up with him now that he's so far behind? Huang Xian's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He didn't know what kind of monster that fellow was, but he was actually able to run so fast with the sun-chasing beast. He had shaken them off with his speed. Damn it, chase after him. There was a black mass of people behind Lu Chen, chasing after him relentlessly. Lu Chen activated his opponent's stance and used teleportation skills to chase after him. He should be able to catch up very soon. Little guy, they're catching up. Quick. However, the sun-chasing beast was already very fast. Its normal movement speed was already close to the movement speed of a rapid teleportation skill. The key was that it was carrying a big guy that was dozens of times heavier than itself. It was already as fast as it could be. The key was that this fellow was not running in a straight line, so it wasted a lot of time. Seeing that the group of people behind him was about to catch up, Lu Chen's dream of getting first place without doing anything was ultimately shattered. F***ck, I can only do it myself. He grabbed the sun-chasing beast with one hand and let it carry him everywhere while he pulled out the limitless divine demon sword with the other. As soon as the limitless divine demon sword appeared, everyone's weapons began to tremble. What kind of weapon is this? Could it be that this weapon has a weapon spirit? My Xianyuan sacred sword is actually trembling? Impossible. The Xianyuan sacred sword can definitely enter the divine weapon list at the fourth heaven. Black and white twin, the color is so strange. When the sword is unsheathed, all weapons submit. What kind of weapon is this? I've never heard of it before. Lu Chen turned around and used the 9 dragon pillars of annihilation. A huge stone pillar fell from the sky and smashed between him and the pursuers. The 7 dragon carvings on the 9 dragon pillars instantly came to life. The 7 dragons soared into the sky like demons, dancing wildly, bombarding the enemies behind them with all kinds of elemental attacks. Lu Chen was still wondering why there were only 7 dragons. There should be 9 dragons. After thinking about it, he remembered that there were 3 types of elemental restrictions, including the water and fire elements. The other 2 dragon carvings on the pillars should be using these 2 types of element. Yen Sun frowned and tried hard to recall. He had seen too many skills. Generally speaking, other than the heavenly might skill, many people had more than one skill, especially professional skills. However, he had never seen such a skill. However, in the ancient books of the Sacred Mountain, there was mention of similar skills. It was said that there was a forging stone in the Tower of Heaven's Punishment. If an ordinary weapon was placed on the forging stone, it could be directly upgraded to a celestial weapon. In the weapon's special effect, there would be the 9 dragon pillars of annihilation. 9 dragon pillars. 9 dragon pillars, annihilation of heaven and earth. He still remembered the description of the 9 dragon pillars of annihilation. This guy can't be the Tower of Heaven's Punishment that passed the 3rd heaven, right? It was no exaggeration to say that even if he had been at the 5th heaven for many years and was the leader of the Sacred Mountain Heavenly Lake, it was impossible for him to pass the Tower of Heaven's Punishment with his own strength. It was said that the guardian of the last level was extremely powerful, and it was impossible to pass. Could it be that he passed a few levels and left the Tower of Heaven's Punishment after strengthening his equipment? Yen Sun guessed. But even so, it was still hard to believe. Nameless, there are too many mysteries on him. What Yen Sun didn't expect was that Lu Chen was far from using his full strength. He didn't need to use his full strength in such a small competition. Looking at the field again, with the 9 dragon pillars blocking, Lu Chen had won some time. Little guy, I'll bring you flying. Lu Chen took the initiative and directly grabbed the chasing sun beast. With a few displacement movements, he completely pulled away from the pursuers behind him. Looking at the guy in front of him running away, Huang Xian fiercely chased, but he couldn't close the distance. Damn it! Nameless, don't run if you have the guts. Lu Chen's voice came from the front. Don't chase if you have the guts. Huang Xian almost vomited blood. This guy's mouth didn't lose to his at all. Ding! A clear bell rang. Someone outside the field rang the golden bell. The time for this round of competition was up. The sound of the bell seemed to have knocked on everyone's hearts. After a long time, someone murmured, "First, that guy snatched the first place of the Sacred Mountain." Chapter 753. The Sun Chaser tournament that had been monopolized by the Holy Mountain for many years had actually been broken by a rogue cultivator. For a moment, the various sect masters, elders, and core members were all present. What happened? Who is he? And he took first place from the hands of the most outstanding Holy Mountain disciples in recent years, Yan Ling and Huang Xian. How can he be so strong at such a young age? Although there was an element of luck in this championship, taking first place is an inconceivable matter. I can't believe that a rogue cultivator could accomplish something that none of us could. The so-called luck was probably the second time he used the forbidden cultivation method and element, causing Yan Ling to completely lose her fighting strength. In any case, the Sun Chaser tournament's first place had been decided. Lu Chen held the Sun Chaser beast in his hands. The little fellow had finally calmed down. Lu Chen faintly smiled and stroked its little head. Little thing, thank you for helping me dodge so many skills. That's why I was able to take first place so easily. Not long after, Elder Xian walked over. Lu Chen handed the Sun Chaser beast over to him. Elder Xian couldn't help but look at the young man who had caused him to lose 20 cash withdrawal scrolls. He had actually misjudged him. His battle style was natural and smooth, and he was calm and collected in the face of sudden changes. This fellow's age was completely disproportionate to his battle experience. Moreover, his skills were ever-changing, making it impossible for others to track him down. Nameless you. Elder Xian glanced at the badge on Lu Chen's chest. 7 stars Wild Cultivator. Are you interested in joining a sect? Not at the moment. Lu Chen bluntly said. Alright. That's right, our sect master wants to talk to you. He's waiting for you at the exit. Your competition is already over. It's a pity that you have to leave the Sun Chaser tournament. Lu Chen nodded. He turned around and glanced at the Holy Mountain disciples who were still in a daze, especially Huang Xian. That fellow's face was ashen, and his entire body seemed to be frozen in place. He probably still couldn't accept this reality. As the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation in recent years, he actually couldn't keep his place in the top 5 of the Sun Chaser tournament. Someone had snatched first place from his hands. Lu Chen smiled. You guys continue. Then, he swaggered out of the arena. At the exit, Mistress and several elders of the Holy Mountain were waiting. When they saw Lu Chen come out, they hurried to greet him. Little friend John Doe, congratulations on being the champion, Yen Sun said with a big smile. Lu Chen scratched his head and said embarrassedly, Senior sect leader, I had no choice but to throw your granddaughter out. I'm sorry. Lu Chen's influence on Yen Sun was not bad. At least the sacred mountain did not bully the people around it. That girl didn't learn well, so how can she blame you? She has been by my side since she was young, and her path has been smooth and unimpeded. She hasn't had much training, so perhaps this setback is a good thing for her. Lu Chen nodded. Sure enough, Sect Master Yen Sun still had some magnanimity. Nameless, there's still some time before the competition starts. Why don't we go over to the side and watch the competition while drinking some tea? Okay. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had changed from a contestant to a spectator. He sat with Mistress and a group of elders to watch the day-chasing competition. Speaking of which, the competition was quite exciting. Lu Chen crippled more than 10 disciples of the Holy Mountain in the first round, which weakened the strength of the Holy Mountain. The others had a greater chance of winning, and the competition became more intense. Nameless, I'm curious. Did you hide your cultivation level? Mistress suddenly asked. Lu Chen smiled. Senior Yen, I just came to the 5th layer of heaven, and I don't belong to any sect. It's not easy to get a reality extraction scroll. Lu Chen meant that he did not hide his cultivation level. He was a 7-star cultivator. He did not mention that he had a few thousand reality extraction scrolls on him. He had originally planned to use them to make up for one of his attributes during the Heavenly Lake Conference, but he had not used them yet. However, at least during the test and the day-chasing competition, Lu Chen's attributes were his current attribute. He did not lie about this. I see. Mistress stroked her beard and nodded. Then I'll take the liberty to ask, were you a great heavenly general in the 4th layer of heaven? At your age, I don't think I've heard of such a young great heavenly general. I'm not a great heavenly general. When I left the 4th layer of heaven, I was still a great heavenly general. If you're not a great heavenly general, then you're a middle heavenly general? No, I'm just a commoner. I don't have an immortal army rank, Lu Chen said. That thing doesn't seem to be of much use. Lu Chen said it casually, but Mistress did not know how to react. Immortal army ranks were useless? That was the most important way to obtain resources in the 4th layer of heaven. How could this kid say that it was dispensable? If other youngsters had said this, Mistress would have cursed them out. However, Lu Chen's strength was right there, so she had to adjust her thinking. Could it be that the immortal army ranks were really useless? So it's like this. Oh right. Nameless little friend, I've been wondering why there haven't been any newcomers from the 4th layer of heaven recently. Although the number is usually small, there would always be some people coming up. However, in this month, I've asked a few other big sections. They all said that there wasn't a single newcomer in their region. You said that you're new to the 5th layer of heaven. Do you know the reason? Lu Chen obviously knew the reason. The moon nether glow had died. In a short period of time, people from the 4th layer of heaven could not enter the Tong Tian Tower. However, Lu Chen thought about it again. He could not say this. Firstly, he did not want others to know the strength of his war soul. In the 5th layer of heaven, he was ranked after 10 million. There were as many experts as ants here. Before his body became stronger, it was better to keep a low profile. Secondly, if he confirmed this news, it would be easy for others to link him to the Azure Dragon Gate newcomers. Recently, only he could come to the 5th layer of heaven. If it wasn't him who killed the Azure Dragon Gate newcomers? I'm not sure about this. Lu Chen answered perfunctorily. Not long after, the 2nd place was determined. This time, Huang Xian did not give the others any chance. He immediately snatched the sun-chasing beast, and then used his strength to suppress the others to secure the 2nd place. The 3rd and 4th place were also disciples of the sacred mountain. Although their strength was not as good as Huang Xian's, their performance was still very eye-catching. Surprisingly, the 5th place was taken by an outstanding disciple from the sacred mountain. To be able to snatch the top 5 places from the sacred mountain, this handsome young man was so excited that he danced with joy. After the competition ended, he waved his fist towards the sky and roared, appearing to be in high fighting spirit. Looking at the performance of the Mist Cave Valley disciple, and then looking at Lu Chen who was calmly drinking tea, the two suddenly formed a sharp contrast. One had taken the 1st place in a record, seriously injuring 12 sacred mountain disciples, but after winning, he only played with the sun-chasing beast. Although the other had also achieved a rare result of 5th place, there were only 5 sacred mountain disciples on the field. Some of them were still injured, but after winning, they were extremely excited. Sigh, there really was no harm if there was no comparison. These two were really not on the same level. Chapter 754. Since the Holy Mountain disciples were not counted in the rankings, the day-chasing competition ended when the other 2 outer sect disciples won. The wild cultivator Nameless took 1st place, the Mist Valley disciple Xinggui took 2nd place, and a female disciple from Donglai Yuan took 3rd place. After the competition ended, Huang Xian and Yan Ling returned to the sect master's side dejectedly. As soon as they returned, they saw Lu Chen sitting there and their expressions changed. However, the Holy Mountain's rules were strict. Even if they wanted to fight Lu Chen, since he was the sect master's guest, they could only hold it in. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I didn't even get a ranking. Yan Ling was about to cry. Huang Xian couldn't help but say, Master, you can't blame Smoke Spirit for this. However, during the 2nd taboo skill, Elemental, you also know that Smoke Spirit's job and Elemental skill were all banned. That was the most crucial moment, which allowed some vile characters to take advantage of it. That's right. The junior brother behind Huang Xian said. His void-shattering technique was clearly off-target. Junior sister would have been able to hold on for a minute if he had a few more seconds. Yen Sun shook her head. Off-target? Are you sure he missed? Don't you know that he was being merciful to you? Of course, Yan Ling knew. Nameless had shown accurate prediction during the cultivation technique test. He could predict the battle 3 minutes later. At such a close distance, how could he miss when he was using a close combat technique? It was just that she didn't want to admit that that guy would be merciful to her. At this moment, Lu Chen took the initiative to speak and said indifferently, "I did miss. At that time, there was someone attacking me from behind. I also attacked in a hurry. Plus, Yan Ling's dodging was exquisite, so it's not surprising that I missed." Yan Ling raised her head in astonishment. Did he really miss? That's right. At that time, she did make a dodging action. After all, a real person wasn't a puppet. Although a puppet was controlled by a puppet master and could dodge, it wasn't as flexible as a human's body. Yen Sun was quite surprised. Did this kid really miss? He had admitted it with his own mouth. People make mistakes, just like horses stumble. Perhaps it was true. "Nameless bro, you're here." Ingli squeezed through the crowd and finally found Lu Chen with great difficulty. In the end, she saw the sect master and the group of elders and was immediately shocked. Sect master, elders, and also senior brother Huang Xian, junior sister Yan Ling. Lu Chen stood up and pulled Ingli over. "Ingli, you're here. I'm sorry I didn't look for you earlier." Sect master Yan glanced at Yen Sun. Seeing that Lu Chen was very friendly towards her, she smiled and said, "Are you the nameless guide disciple?" "Junior Marshal Brother Fong, what's this child's name?" "Oh, she is one of my disciples. Her name is Ingli." "Ingli, right? This child is not bad." Elder Fong quickly understood the meaning behind the sect leader's words. He smiled at Ingli and said, "Ingli, go back and tell your master that I want to transfer you to my side and teach you personally. Ask him if he is willing to let you go." Ingli's eyes widened as her mind buzzed. Personally taught by Elder Fong? She wasn't dreaming, right? Elder Fong had the highest rank among the elders. He was second only to the sect leader and Elder Xian. Most importantly, following Elder Fong would give her more opportunities. With more opportunities there would be more rewards. This. Ingli was so insignificant. How could she dare to think of such a good thing? Lu Chen smiled at Ingli. "Since Elder Fong is willing to teach you personally, then you should give it a try. Who knows, you might be able to participate in the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting next time." Elder Fong naturally understood that the sect leader was trying to rope in Nameless. He quickly followed up on Lu Chen's words and said, "This child is smart and quick-witted. It's just that she hasn't been given a good opportunity. I want to teach her for a period of time. At most a year. She should be able to participate in next year's Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting." Ingli was completely dumbfounded. Happiness had come too suddenly. Obviously, all of this was because of Brother Nameless. Back then, she didn't despise Brother John Doe for his shabby clothes and plain looks. Instead, she warmly led the way for him. Now, because of Brother John Doe's words, she was brought to Elder Fong's side to be nurtured. "Everyone, the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting is about to begin. Let's go over." Elder Xian said. "That's true. Nameless also wants to participate in the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting. Nameless, to be honest, I'm really looking forward to seeing you create another miracle." Yen Sun stood up and smiled at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled. "Let's leave this matter to fate." Most of the people participating in the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting had already arrived at the Heavenly Lake. When Lu Chen and the others arrived at the Heavenly Lake was already surrounded by people. Elder Xian had already sent a disciple to close the Heavenly Lake Grand Array. They would be able to enter the Heavenly Lake soon. There were 3 people on the Holy Mountain side. Yan Ling, Huang Xian, and the third place Chang Sheng. No matter what the ranking was, it was their own matter. Others didn't need to interfere. On the other hand, there were Nameless, Xing Gui, and Yu Yan. Following a long and deep sound, the Heavenly Lake Grand Array slowly opened. When the Grand Array opened, a large amount of spiritual energy surged out from the Heavenly Lake. Lu Chen said to Ingli, "Bathing means bathing, right? Do you need to take off your clothes?" With so many people watching, wouldn't it be a bit awkward? Ingli couldn't help but laugh. Nameless bro, you don't need to take off your clothes. You don't really need to bathe in the heavenly lake. Just soak in it. In 2 hours, if there's no reaction, we'll come out. Soak in it for 2 hours? Wouldn't that be a waste? Ingli shook her head. Nameless bro, don't be so talkative. I don't even have the chance to do that. Oh right, in the heavenly lake, you can try using your own treasures or skills. In short, try anything and see if you can resonate with it. Who knows, it might be useful. Oh, there's also the fusion of soul and body and battle pet. Don't just look at the beauties. Lu Chen nodded. In any case, when the time came, he would just observe how the others did it and learn from them. All those who have been selected, please gather here. Elder Xian gathered all the people who had been selected. Are you all ready? The few of them nodded. Lu Chen didn't know what to prepare, so he just nodded along. Remember, it's 2 hours. If you can trigger a reaction from the heavenly lake, you can continue to stay in the heavenly lake. Otherwise, I'll let you out in 2 hours. Okay, next, let's bathe in the heavenly lake. The 5 of them turned around and jumped into the heavenly lake. Lu Chen was half a beat slower, but he also jumped in. Lu Chen had just popped his head out of the water when he saw the other 5 people coming out of the water in a stunning manner. Especially Yanling. The moment she came out of the water, she was like a hibiscus emerging from the water. Her beauty was unparalleled. Only he came out of the water with his hair covering his head. Lu Chen stroked his hair and shook his head. These people were too scheming. After those people came out of the water, they used every second they had to frantically use their skills. Fusion of soul and body. Dragon Roar Jiutian. 7-star beast trap. The opportunity to bathe in the heavenly lake was rare. Even Yen Ling and the others only had one chance. Therefore, they had to try as many times as they could. These people stirred the water into a mess. Lu Chen frowned with disdain. It's such a big place. Do they have to squeeze together? As he spoke, he swam into the distance. Chapter 755. The area of the Heaven Lake was very big. Lu Chen swam to a calm water area, far away from those lunatics. He was not in a hurry to try it. Anyway, 2 hours was enough for him to use all his skills. He would consider if he should use soul body as one at the end. After all, after using soul body as one, he would be unfamiliar with the place and he would not have a master to rely on. It would be too easy for others to kill him. Since the level 5 is the main body, I might not even need to use soul body as one. Lu Chen thought about it and decided to use his own body to activate the skills. Heaven's Eyes, Tiger descends the mountain, shatter the void, 3,000 body slash, 8 desolates, listen, heavenly flame pillar, 9 annihilating dragons, rapid movement, 9 steps in the void, 7 stars chasing the moon, all kinds of elemental attacks, rejuvenation, and even the mixed Yuan heart technique were useless. It's useless. Lu Chen shook his head. He was tired after such a long time. He lay on the water and let himself go with the flow. Soul body as one did not work over there. If I use it, it probably won't work either. Lu Chen sighed. It seemed that he would not be able to get the opportunity in the heavenly lake. It's still early. Let's rest first. Although the heavenly lake was full of spirit chi, it was very gentle. If he could cultivate here, Lu Chen's fighting soul would grow quickly. A good source of spirit chi is really useful. If I can find such a source of spirit chi, I can bring the army up. After resting for a while, Lu Chen began to test his equipment and battle pet. The infinite celestial demon's sword did not respond. The magic treasures did not respond. Rhubarb, Furball, Xiaomin, and Little Green did not respond. Divine beasts could only be summoned when they were in soul body as one. Lu Chen thought about it and decided to give it one last try. He still had a few skills that he had not used. He also had soul body as one and divine beasts as battle pets. However, he did not want others to see these. The best way was to dive into the water. With that thought, Lu Chen dived into the water. Where's that nameless? Why is it gone? It seems to be heading towards the bottom of the heavenly lake. Many people have already tried it countless times. If there's a reaction on the surface of the lake, it means that there's a reaction. If there's no reaction, it's useless even if you swim to the bottom of the lake. He's a rogue cultivator. He probably doesn't know. Lu Chen really didn't know this, but his purpose was actually to test his own trump card. Since it was a trump card, it naturally couldn't be seen by others. Originally, Lu Chen had planned to dive to a depth of a few hundred meters. If he went any deeper, he probably wouldn't be able to hold his breath. But to his surprise, after diving, he suddenly realized that he didn't need to hold his breath. He could extract air from the surrounding water. Since when did I have this ability? Just as Lu Chen was feeling surprised, a dark blue pearl suddenly appeared beside him. It was faintly glowing and could even help him illuminate his surroundings. Lu Chen took a closer look and remembered that this was the unknown bead that the little golden carp had given him. It turned out that it was this bead that allowed him to move freely underwater. Since that was the case, he would dive a little deeper and try. He couldn't rule out the possibility that the people of the sacred mountain had underwater surveillance equipment. Thinking back to the time when he was in the heart refinement courtyard, Ken Sheng and Old Ma had monitored the scene of his underwater battle with the Black Flood Dragon. Lu Chen continued diving, his speed faster than usual. It was as if his body couldn't feel the water pressure and didn't need to take a breath. After diving for 10 minutes, the surroundings had become pitch black. Only the bead beside him provided a faint blue light. I'm almost 1,000 meters down, and I still haven't reached the bottom? Since I'm already here, let's go down and take a look. 2,000 meters. This place had already exceeded the height of the sacred mountain. He should already be underground. If it wasn't for the bead that the little golden carp had given Lu Chen, he definitely wouldn't be able to dive to such a deep place. Even if there was enough oxygen, the water pressure could directly crush him into meat paste. There weren't any living creatures underwater. This made Lu Chen a little surprised. After diving another 400 to 500 meters, he would probably reach the bottom of the lake. With the faint light of the bead, Lu Chen could see some strange rocks around him. There seems to be a person over there? Lu Chen looked at a black shadow not far away in surprise. It seemed to be in the shape of a human. There's someone here? Lu Chen was shocked. He swam over carefully. After swimming closer, Lu Chen finally saw it clearly. There was indeed a person here, but this person seemed to be dead. He sat there cross-legged and didn't move. His long hair fluttered with the water. What was surprising was that his body was still intact. His clothes were intact. If he hadn't been motionless for a long time, perhaps Lu Chen would have thought that he was a living person. Although that person's clothes and hair fluttered with the water, his body was as steady as a rock and didn't move at all. Lu Chen swam over curiously. Who is this guy? Why is he here? He didn't have any underwater protective Dharma treasure on him. How did he come to such a deep place? Lu Chen stretched out his hand and tried to touch that person's face. However, with just a touch, that person's body directly disintegrated. Damn! What the hell is this? Lu Chen hurriedly retracted his hand in fear. He glanced at his fingers. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong with them. The mysterious person's body instantly disintegrated. His hair and clothes fell off, and his skin and flesh disappeared with the water. Lu Chen felt his hair stand on end. How long has this guy been in the water? His body has actually been completely corroded. After that person disintegrated, a golden scroll suddenly fell out of his arms. The scroll was intact and slightly glowed with a golden light. Lu Chen learned his lesson this time. He used listen respectfully and sucked the scroll into his palm. He didn't know what the scroll was made of. It wasn't affected by the water and could be read normally. Lu Chun carefully opened the scroll. Before he started reading, a line of words suddenly jumped out from the system. Activated hidden mission, itinerant immortal's last wish, immortal level. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with disbelief. There was actually a hidden mission in the fifth heaven? It seemed that the fifth heaven was indeed a form of teleportation into the Jiutian, but it was still a part of the Jiutian. However, the fifth heaven was the fifth heaven after all. This was the first time Lu Chun had received an immortal level hidden mission. Restart the fifth heaven. Lu Chun was even more shocked. Wasn't the fifth heaven fine? What did it mean to restart the fifth heaven? Mission description: there are 5 major spirit veins in the fifth heaven. All of them were blocked by the demonic beast emperor, causing the fifth heaven's spirit energy to be scarce. For hundreds of years, the strength of the fifth heaven has stagnated. Very few people can ascend to the sixth heaven. I was ordered to descend from the sixth heaven to unblock the spirit veins and restart the prosperity of the fifth heaven. However, I was attacked by the demonic beast emperor under the heavenly lake of the sacred mountain. I fought with him. Although I killed him, my spirit energy was depleted and I was on the verge of death. I have specially left this book for the fated one to obtain. Mission details: unblock 5 spirit veins in the fifth heaven. Each one is guarded by the demonic beast emperor's subordinate. Mission reward: 1 spirit stone vein in the fifth heaven. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Directly rewarded with a spirit stone vein? If it could be mined, didn't that mean that he could make cash withdrawal scrolls? Chapter 756. Behind the mysterious man, Lu Chun saw a huge skeleton. As the light of the pearl was too small, he couldn't see the whole thing at a glance. These skeletons were huge and endless, as if there was no end to them. F***ck. This is the remains of the demon beast supreme? It's estimated to be over 1,000 meters. Needless to say, if this demon beast supreme was not already dead, Lu Chun would feel weak even if he fought in the strongest state of soul-body fusion. Even if it was a loose immortal, it would only result in both sides suffering. Lu Chun still had self-awareness. He was definitely not its opponent. Fortunately, it had already been killed by the itinerant immortal, and now only a skeleton was left. Right, call Rhubarb out, maybe I can find some treasures. Lu Chun quickly summoned Rhubarb. With the protection of the mysterious pearl, Rhubarb flapped twice and found that there was no problem in the water. It happily wagged its tail and swam in the water. Lu Chun couldn't speak underwater, so he directly ordered Rhubarb to try to find treasures. Not long after, Rhubarb swam in a direction. Lu Chun was delighted and followed closely. After swimming for a while, Rhubarb finally stopped. Below a skeleton, there was a cloud of black gas slightly circling around. Lu Chun didn't dare to approach it directly. He first opened his heaven's eye and found that there was nothing in the center of the black gas. Strange, Rhubarb said there was a treasure here. What is it? Why didn't I see it? And what is this black gas emitted from? This matter was strange, so Lu Chun didn't dare to act rashly. He used his spirit energy to push the black gas away and take a look. Because the effect of activating spirit essence was reduced, Lu Chun directly activated soul-body fusion and used his battle soul to activate spirit essence. A large amount of spirit energy slowly approached the black gas, but in an instant, the spirit energy emitted by Lu Chun was directly absorbed by the black gas. The range of the black gas suddenly increased by dozens of times. This wasn't the worst. At this moment, Lu Chun found that the black gas was following the path of his spirit energy and pouncing towards him. It was like a hungry monster that saw its prey and excitedly pounced over. F***ck, what the hell is this? Lu Chun tried to cut off the overflow of spirit energy, but the black gas was still rushing towards him. It was extremely fast, and in a moment, It had already surrounded Lu Chen. Seeing the black gas quickly gathering around him, as if it was going to swallow him, Lu Chen's eyes bulging. He first recalled rhubarb and then quickly emitted a large amount of spirit energy from between his palms, to resist the black gas's corrosion. The black gas surrounded Lu Chen's body. When Lu Chen's spirit energy gushed out, it was quickly assimilated into the black gas, causing the range of the black gas to become larger and larger. Lu Chen was shocked. He was temporarily relying on the spirit energy storm to ensure that he could continuously emit spirit energy, but this was undoubtedly drinking poison to quench thirst. He could only let the black gas think that he was still useful and would not swallow him in one gulp. F***ck, there's such a terrifying thing under this heavenly lake. Lu Chen couldn't even find the enemy now. His opponent was just a mass of black gas. 10 minutes later, Lu Chen was still barely holding on, but if he could see the situation at the bottom of the lake, he would definitely be shocked. At first, it was only a small mass of black gas, but now it had expanded to a black sphere with a diameter of 300 to 400 meters. At this moment, the black gas began to compress inwards. Lu Chen could clearly feel that in order to expand the black gas's compression, he needed a large amount of spirit energy. A trace of blood appeared in the water. This was the blood that seeped out from the corner of Lu Chen's mouth after his physical body was injured. Just using spirit energy had already caused his physical body, the physical body of his battle soul, to be unable to withstand it. This showed how terrifying the spirit energy that Lu Chen was emitting was. 1,000,000 points of spirit energy was the upper limit of the fourth heavenly layer. In the end, the spirit energy storm could only last for less than 10 seconds. The black gas was still compressing inwards. Lu Chen was already bleeding from all 7 orifices. At this moment, a thought flashed through Lu Chen's mind. I'm going to die here. Even though he had rich battle experience and had survived many desperate situations, he really couldn't think of any countermeasures this time. Without an opponent, he wouldn't be able to use a large number of skills that could deal huge damage. The black gas continued to compress, and Lu Chen desperately resisted, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. However, he didn't have time to think, and all his energy was focused on resisting the black gas's compression. Gradually, Lu Chen was unable to resist. The spirit energy storm needed to last for about 3 seconds, but with his full spirit energy, he could only last for 3 seconds. As long as he couldn't use the spirit energy storm to replenish his spirit energy, it meant that he was doomed. I'm sorry, Rhubarb, Little Furball, Little Green, Xiaomin, we're going to die here. At this moment, the mysterious bead beside Lu Chen suddenly emitted a blue light. Lu Chen's position formed a whirlpool of water. In the next second, Lu Chen directly appeared outside the black gas. In an instant, the surrounding pressure disappeared. Lu Chen spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His physical body's damage was as high as 80%. He looked at the mysterious bead in disbelief. This bead could actually bring him out of the black gas range. This could be a high-level displacement skill. The mysterious bead's light didn't diminish, and Lu Chen also saw the black gas not far away. What shocked Lu Chen was that the black gas didn't just absorb his spirit energy, it also absorbed the skeleton of the demon beast supreme. Lu Chen was inside the black gas at that time, so he couldn't see what was happening outside. This was only his guess. However, the incomparably huge skeleton was indeed gone, and besides him and the black gas, there were no other living things around. Since he didn't take the skeleton away, it was most likely the black gas. At this time, the black gas was still compressing, and it had already been compressed to a height of 10 meters. It was unknown how much spirit energy this black gas had absorbed from Lu Chen. At this time, it was highly condensed, and from a gaseous state, it gradually turned into a solid state. When the black gas was compressed to a height of 1 meter, it completely solidified. In front of Lu Chen, a black egg appeared. Lu Chen was dumbfounded. What's going on? Just as Lu Chen was surprised, the egg suddenly cracked from the inside, and a winged dragon broke out of the shell. After it finished eating the eggshell, it glanced at Lu Chen, and then directly rushed to the surface of the water and disappeared. Lu Chen frowned. That thing is, wait, it can't be, the demon beast supreme has been reborn. The demon beast supreme that only itinerant immortals can kill has been reborn. This doesn't seem to be a good thing. Its speed is so fast, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Just as Lu Chen was still thinking about whether to chase and kill that young dragon, the system suddenly sent a congratulatory message. Congratulations on activating the first spiritual source, the Holy Mountain's Heavenly Lake spiritual source. Mission completion. 1/5 the spiritual source is recovering for the first time. In about 30 days, the isolation layer will be completely destroyed. Please avoid directly approaching the spiritual source. As the system spoke, the rock stratum under Lu Chen's feet suddenly shook violently, and then, a crack appeared in the rock stratum. From the crack, a torrential flow of spirit energy gushed out. Lu Chen's mind whirled. What a rich spirit energy! The system said that the isolation layer would be completely destroyed after 30 days. Now, he couldn't directly approach the spiritual source. In other words, in these 30 days, the isolation layer wouldn't be completely destroyed, and he couldn't directly come into contact with the spiritual source. To put it simply, could he cultivate here for 30 days? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.